Welcome into an all-new episode of Panthers on Tap. I'm Curtis Rauen, joined by Bryson, Karbley, and Ricky Rains. Coming to y'all on a Wednesday evening. It feels like forever ago we were doing a podcast. We've been trying to catch up a little bit even before this got rolling here. I feel like, man, it's been an eternity. This is probably one of the longest times we've been out, to be honest with you guys. But, hey, it's good to be back. It's good to see both Ricky and Bryson. Gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
Bryson, I'll kick it off. Bryson looks like he's in the middle of his chore there. We were both trying to multitask on the intro. Doing good, man. Look, I'm super excited to be back. Like, I feel like you, Curtis, you kind of alluded to it. It was only a couple weeks off, right? But it felt like we were gone for a really long time. And I felt like I wanted to talk about Panthers for a couple weeks, and schedules just kept on not coinciding, not lining up. So I'm excited to be here tonight to talk about the offseason program so far. I mean, look, we already got through OTAs. We got through rookie minicamp, and now all of a sudden we're in regular minicamp, and we're not even that far away from training camp. And I'm just super stoked, man, to get to sit here, have some beers, and talk about Panthers tonight.
Amen.
Yeah, there's little more I enjoy than just drinking and talking Panthers football with you guys. So I'm excited to be back. I think the Panthers tweeted today Greg Olson's number away from kickoff of the football season, 88 days. So it's quickly approaching, and quickly, but also slowly. You can't come soon enough. I'm excited for football to finally get back into the full swing of things and talk with you guys. It's exciting to finally get back on here.
Yeah, I heard the chimes. I think it was on like a TikTok video, the NFL Sunday chimes, and it gave me chills. I'm ready. I'm itching for football again. So I'm excited. I'm excited to talk Panthers football with you guys. It's good to see you again. Carter coming in hot. We'll get to you here in a second, Carter. Well, actually, we're going to start with you here. So 30 minutes before we got rolling, folks.
Hell
he
yeah,
put out,
Carter.
We are so back.
Carter's a man.
Our boys, one of our regulars on this show. We appreciate it. $4.99. Bruins fan here. I love Garbers, draft O-line, and CB depth. Carter's already looking to next year. I love
Carter's locked in, baby. He's locked in.
Neff draft cycle. Jari, 3 years, $47.5 million. Maybe he'll bring some spotted cow. Hey, I would like that. I think we'd all be a fan of that. Carter, we appreciate you as always.
Oh yeah.
Cheers to you, and
Cheers,
that will
Carter.
definitely give you way more entries into what I'm about to say after I drink this.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You know what's cool too, man? When we said that we were coming back, we got multiple people who responded the same way that the three of us did when we finally figured out that Wednesday was going to work for our schedule. We were like, oh hell yeah, we're back. Like, let's do this thing. We were all amped up. We got fans that are sitting there and they're super amped about this too. It speaks not only to how great our fans are, but how great Panthers fans are, dude, because they're ready to we're ready to sit here and talk about Panthers for an hour and a half or something, just sitting here drinking beers, talking about June football for the Carolina Panthers.
Amen. So we do have a giveaway tonight. I'm kind of spitballing this, so hopefully Ricky's going to help me out with this. But we are giving away, so we won the For Panthers Fans Only mock draft way back. I think it was in April. And they were giving away these awesome T-shirts. So I'm wearing it tonight so you guys can kind of see it. I'll stand up even. It's the Carolina Reaper. Oh, if I know how to turn, there we go. It's got it on the side as well. As you see my gut. I don't know what I'm doing with this camera. It's the opposite. It's got me fucked up already. But we're giving away this. It's an extra large. I will ship that out to our winner. And we will pick that by the end of the evening. And I will let Ricky take away how you enter.
Yeah, so look, what we're going to do is we're going to do it very similar to what we've done in the past. You'll see the banner is down on the bottom right now. Comment Reaper in the comment section and make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel and preferably follow the Panthers on Tap Twitter account. But for tonight's sake, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you comment Reaper, and we are going to do the same thing with the wheel that spins and picks the name at random. And then when we pick that name, we will announce it at the end of the show. We will give multiple opportunities. If you do a super chat, each super chat will get you 3 more entries into this raffle. It's a great shirt. All 3 of us have one. Bryson and I dropped the ball by not wearing it tonight, but it's okay. Curtis was on the job. Man of the year right there. It's a sharp shirt for Panthers Fan Only. Is a Really good podcast, good dudes. They do it for the love of the team as well. So comment Reaper, follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Super Chat gets you 3 extra for each one that you do. We'll put a cap on that. We won't let you sit here and do like 10 Super Chats for $1. We'll put a cap on 3 Super Chats. So overall, you could have 10 entries into winning if you were to do the 3 Super Chats and the 1 for Reaper.
Amen to that. Let's get to our chat here real quick. Just say hello. What's up, Doug? We were just on his pod a couple weeks ago, me and Ricky. That was a blast. Giving our confidence level.
Yeah, what's up, Doug? Appreciate you coming in, man. He just had, I believe he had Lowe from the pregame podcast on. I wasn't able to tune in tonight because I was getting all this stuff ready, but Lowe is one of our good buddies here on the show as well. So shout out to both those guys.
Yeah, and what's up, Doug? I got to shout him out. He did make the blueprint, which we'll be talking about shortly. It was awesome to see as well. And, the Panthers showing some love to the, local content creators, which was really cool. We got Trev24 Panther Pride. We appreciate you tapping in. 60 days until preseason football. I love the countdown.
Yeah, let's go, Trev.
There's no shame in that. No shame in a little preseason football. Hopefully this year we'll actually get to see the starters for a little bit. I think
they're gonna play.
I think Dave Canales learned from that mistake last year. Zachary Hernandez, let's go. The fellows are back. Been way too long. I agree with you, Zach. It has been way too damn long. Zachary East, always appreciate him. He's always tapping in. People really still think Renfro isn't making the 53. I know Bryson's got a lot to say about that. We'll talk about that later in the show. Dakota Jordan.
How much good stuff we already have to talk about. This is fucking great.
Love the pod. Appreciate you, Jordan. He's also in the run or the giveaway, I should say. B. Paez, Glorillo, and Legette. We'll talk about that. 2 Caucasian wide receivers with hands. We are going undefeated. Tell them, Ricky.
17-0, dude. 17-0. The dream is still alive.
Mike Hollinger, we can add him to the list of several entries into that giveaway. We appreciate you. $1.99. Let's drink to one of those free agent corners. We definitely will talk about that tonight. Appreciate you, Mike.
Cheers, Mike.
We'll drink to that. And we got to get to what we're drinking. I have totally bypassed that. We'll get there in a little bit. When will this be uploaded to Spotify? Well, that'll drop right in the morning, Joshua. So I think it's like 3:30 a.m. Set your alarm. It'll drop in the morning. Making True Money.
3:30, Josh. Just listen to it when you wake up, bro. Don't do that.
Making True Money. It's good to see you tapping into the live. What's up, family? We appreciate you. That's the chat so far. Keep them coming, guys. Again, super chat will get you 3 more entries into the giveaway for this kick-ass shirt. And I'll tell you what, Bryce Young is about to be a Carolina Reaper all season. I'm pretty pumped.
Hey, can I double down on something real quick, guys? I'm feeling a little bit amped up here tonight. Can I double down on the giveaway thing? I got an idea. Humor me, if you will. Okay. All right, so we've got a guy in the fan base. He's a local artist here in Charlotte, right? And he does a lot of stuff for Roaring Riot. He does a lot of stuff for his individual Etsy page where he does a lot of work. But you guys know him, Joe Bello, who does outstanding stuff. And he just put out that Tetaroa McMillan art print that is just, it's ridiculous, man. I'm going to show you mine because I got it. It is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, seriously, it's better.
I have mine. Mine is in the package right now. I should have pulled it out too,
dude. It is even like honestly, it's more impressive like when you see it in person than it was when I saw it on. Well, we're gonna do something else, man. Not tonight because tonight we're gonna focus on for Panthers fans only. But we're gonna give away another one of these prints, and right now they're completely sold out on Joe's shop. He is gonna be doing a restock, but it'll take about a week or so before those are back in order, and they'll get there. But we're gonna give away another one next week, man. We're gonna do this again, and it's not to try to necessarily gain subscribers. It's not for notoriety or anything like that. I'm so jacked up about this football team this year, man. Like, guys, I can't tell you. We had like a couple people over, whatever, last weekend, and they're not even sports fans, right? They're not even football fans. And I'm sitting there, and I had a couple of beers. I took my medicine, a couple of beers, and I start talking, and every other word out of my mouth is something about these Carolina Panthers. So I want to spread that cheer. What does he say in Elf? The best way to spread Panthers cheer is singing loud for all to hear. Well, that's what I'm trying to do here. So we're going to do another giveaway next week.
Beautiful.
Amen to that.
And Oprah right now.
Yeah.
A little more.
All right,
facial hair,
boys.
but-
Hey, let's get to what we're drinking here. Bryson, let's start with you. I know you. I don't know. Tell us about the beer. I don't know if you were loving or hating it before the show.
No, I started with this one. This was just like my pregame. It was terrible. I don't recommend it. AVL from Highland Brewing. It was just one that my friend left at my house, and I was like, I'll fucking drink it, but it was terrible. Don't recommend that one. I'm now on to one from Trophy Brewing here in Raleigh called Aloha Surfer.
Oh, I like the name.
That's
And
like Cloud Surfer. It's an iteration of Cloud Surfer, right?
yeah, I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
But this one is with pineapple and passion fruit, a Mahalo IPA. This shit is fucking delicious. I'm telling you what. I'm going back to buy like 6 more of these at the local bottle shop right up the road from me because I bought it just because like the can was cool and I was like, oh, pineapple and passion fruit. Yeah, I mean it might taste good, but it tastes amazing. So I highly recommend it. Again, it's Aloha Surfer.
Yeah, it's a great
Ricky?
beer. Their Cloud Surfer is one of my favorite from Trophy, and they do like their little like seasonal iterations. So that's their Hawaiian one. So for right now, I am just finishing off a little PBR. Just a hello.
Classic.
How you
There's
doing?
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that,
Classic.
right? But I did get a couple of other things from the store. This is from Burial, which is one of my favorite breweries. I am constantly drinking Burial's IPAs. This one is called Until There Is No Longer. Very excited about that.
Where's Burial? Tell the folks, Ricky.
Burial's Asheville, North Carolina, baby. And get up there and
Amen.
support those Asheville breweries, man. Small businesses up there in Asheville. They got a lot of stuff that's opening back up, man. Terrific people up there. Terrific stuff. Great times to be had. And if you get up there, go to a bar called the Yacht Club and tell them Ricky Bobati sent you because that is the coolest place you'll ever go in your life. It is like Deftones meets Margaritaville. And you can get a Jaeger bomb for like $3 and then go outside and sit in this little like locked in area for adults. It's terrific. But this Burial beer is a 7.4%, double dry hopped with hand selected Citra pellets and with Citra cryo powder pellets. And the other thing that I did bring, just in case we were having a lot of fun and I didn't want to get up and do anything, from Sycamore, probably my favorite local brewery here in Charlotte. This is called the After Party. It's a double IPA. It's about 9.5%. So if we're still going and I feel like I need a Nas tank to power me through, Paul Walker style, then there it is right there.
Ricky, I'm gonna go ahead and let you know you're gonna need it.
I'm gonna need it. Let's do it. I like the challenge, man. Challenge accepted, Bryson.
Yeah.
I thought you had a whiskey bottle aside. I was getting a little excited, but maybe that'll come out later.
That's usually what I run. Yeah, that's usually what I do when we do like the sports betting ad. I'll run out, and if I'm really feeling froggy, I'll grab that whiskey.
But Ricky, I appreciate you shouting out Asheville. I was in Western North Carolina today working on a special project. Can't say much about it now, but I will say we were in Chimney Rock today. They're opening their state park on the 27th of June. If you're not a hiker, it don't matter. Go show the love and support for those folks. There are many folks that do not have homes still. They're not going to have homes for many years. So please support them in Western North Carolina. They need it. And I know a lot of people have moved on. And our lives here are, moving forward, but please help those people out in the western part of the state. I went with it's summer beer time. That's just when summer hits, that's all I want to drink. And this is my second case we've bought in the last couple of weeks, and it's the Sam Adams Summer Edition. It's like several different type of beers, but this is their porch rocker. It's like a lemon. It's called Lemon Radler. It's so damn good. Kind of like a summer shandy-ish type beer. And then this is their summer ale, which is really good as well. So I'll be drinking probably summer beers until through training camp, probably.
Hey, someone please bring up Jeremy's last comment. I need to apologize.
Here you go.
Okay. All right. This beer right here was delicious. I loved it.
There we go.
I highly recommend it. Beautiful brewery. Go to the store and buy this right now. It was great.
Well done. Cheers to Highland.
Cheers.
I got to get you guys some of these Sycamore honeysuckle ales, man. You talk about wanting a summer beer. I got to get y'all some of those in your hands, man. You're 4.5%, almost 5%. Just tastes like sucking on a honeysuckle bush when you were a kid, but you can get drunk if you eat enough of those damn bushes. So it's a lot of fun, man.
All right, well, let's get to what you guys really tuned in for tonight, and that's Panthers
That's not
football.
this. They're not here for this. Are you sure?
So we didn't really rehearse much of this. So, gentlemen, do we want to start OTAs and then go into blueprint, or want to do blueprint, OTAs, and then minicamp? It's kind of up to y'all.
We go in chronological order. So let's do what would it be? OTAs first or blueprint?
OTAs.
I believe it was OTAs, and that's what I had. But we'll roll with it then. So we'll start OTA observations. Obviously, media wasn't allowed. I think it was only 2 practices out of the 2 weeks that they did. So there was not a lot we could really see. Just reporting that Panthers.com did, and then also the beat reporters the 2 days they were there. The obvious one out of everything was, I believe, is the injury news to someone's favorite boy here, Tommy Tremble, has back surgery. They kind of waited. I feel like that's been the MO for the Panthers since like Cam Newton was here, where they did a shoulder surgery in like May or something like that, when it could have been done in, January, and, Cam Newton wasn't ready to roll. So like that, yeah, this has been a consistent across the board, but here we are. It sounded like Carolina thought this wasn't as bad as it looked and thought it maybe recovered just on rest. That obviously isn't the case. And we might not see Tommy Tremble to start the year. So let's just start with that. Your guys' thoughts on the injury and any concerns with that tight end room now down Tommy.
I mean, it's looking pretty thin. I think, you bring in a rookie this season. This is a great opportunity for JT Sanders to kind of take the reins. And, we've seen some recent video of him. I'm sure we'll get into it in a little bit, but he's looking good. So this is an opportunity for Sanders to really come out and show the Panthers that, the guy they drafted last season, who showed some promise last season as well, has taken a step forward and can really make a difference on the field. So, having him there, Curtis, I don't know if this, if this makes you wish that Ian Thomas was here or not, but a thin tight end room. So maybe they
said his name.
maybe they bring in, a veteran tight end on the market. I'm not even sure what that looks like right now, but yeah, I think this is just a really good opportunity for Sanders to show the team that, he has continued to take a step forward, and the rookie as well. Mitchell Evans, is that correct? For some reason his name slipped in my mind.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mitchell Evans to also get involved pretty quickly. Yeah. So I don't know if the basketball players are going to make the team, but he might. He might from just happenstance and Tommy Tremble not being healthy. So we'll see how that happens and how it plays out. But I'm hoping he's back sooner than later, because I still do believe in Tommy Tremble. This is probably the last season I'll be believing. So I'm hoping that it's a good one. But yeah, I think it's just a very thin room with opportunity for the other guys.
Before Ricky goes, I've been done with this train for a while. I think it's been time to move on from the Tommy Tremble experiment, if you want my honest take on it. But I'm really stoked for JT Sanders. Bryce, you touched on it. He's leaner. He dropped about 10 pounds, trained with Bryce Young in the offseason. I am super pumped for him. I know there's been, there's been folks and Ricky, and we've all seen it of, he needs to improve in his blocking game. But I do think this guy can put it all together. And in his first year, topped every single tight end the last 5 years, yards wise, at, pre the neck injury against Kansas City. I think this guy could be, 500-600 yard tight end this year if he can put it all together. And I think that's really possible. We'll see with all the weapons they've added, but I do think he could get to that level. And Carolina hasn't seen that since Greg Olsen. So I will take every bit of that. And I do like that he's leaner, and it's showing, and it's Canales has talked about this. Like, he's definitely come in this offseason, and he's, taken his, workouts and his work ethic to a whole nother level, and shows, he is committed to getting better as a football player, which I appreciate. So
I'll put this video back up while I talk about it. I like that. How'd you like that live TV thing right there, Curtis? While you're talking about it, I find the clip, roll it.
Dude, that blew my mind when I was
Yeah.
talking.
That
I almost
reminds you of
lost
some evening news, huh?
Yeah.
You're
I almost
talking about-
lost like track of thought. I was like, what the? Okay.
Hey,
all
y'all
right.
got professional Ricky tonight, man. You gave me 2 weeks off, dude. I'm ready to rock this thing. But Curtis, you talk about it, right? The conditioning and the weight that he dropped. Here's my thing about JT Sanders, right? And I've talked about this last year. I talk about it a little bit, in the offseason. He's not a overpowering physical specimen, right? He's not the biggest guy. That's part of the blocking was always an issue with him. The other part of the blocking with him being an issue was the lateral agility, the ability to move sideways and get to his point where he's supposed to be there. What you see in these clips that we just watched, I mean, he is a much more sudden mover right now with that weight gone. It's not just getting skinny. It's not just so that he's got his beach bod ready, right? Like, I have no doubt in my mind he would crush at Isle of Palms. He would be by far the best shape in there on July 4th weekend. But this is functional, what he's done. The acceleration that you see from him, that is what you have to have out of JT Sanders, because I don't think the blocking is ever going to be his calling card. And I also don't think it has to be anymore. If you got Mitchell Evans, and he's a proficient blocker. I don't think that Mitchell Evans is like a dominant blocker necessarily. He's not Jackson Hawes as far as like the prospects that were in this draft. But Jackson Hawes is essentially like Darnell Washington. He was another offensive lineman who has hands that can catch a football on the occasion, right? But Mitchell Evans and JT Sanders, they can form this duo, man, that the Panthers have been searching for. You talk about 80, that we won't say his name. I get it. You don't want to do that because it'll make Curtis upset, and we don't want him to appear if you say it 3 times. But they bring in Tommy Tremble, and the reason they bring in Tommy Tremble was to get that more athletic player, right? That was the ceiling for him. Then they bring in Hayden Hurst, and they're like, well, Tommy wasn't exactly this natural pass catcher. Why don't we bring in Hayden? He didn't do much either. And no offense to him. I know that he had all of the, concussions and things that he was up against. So it's not all out of his control. But I just think that when you talk about JT Sanders, man, he's affording you the opportunity to also integrate Mitchell Evans with him. So it's not just what JT is going to be able to do. It's when they start running 12 personnel. I think it makes so much sense, finally. Like the build of that room makes a ton of sense. But I do think that JT, with that added athleticism, some of the misses you saw last year, I'm recalling the one where, it was a beautiful pass by Bryce, and JT kind of fumbled over his feet. It went right above his head, and he just kind of misplayed it, right? He just wasn't very agile. He wasn't very nimble with it. He was just kind of lumbering. You get a little bit lighter. You get a little bit stronger. That balance and that coordination, all of that stuff improves, man. So I think there's a real opportunity for JT to take a significant step. And the best thing about it, the coaching staff is clearly behind him. And that's a vote of confidence for a young guy like that, man.
All right, let's talk about other observations from those 2 weeks. Anything else that stood out to you guys? I will say this: while you guys are thinking, probably knew I'd shout this guy out, is Damani Richardson. I feel like that, if they don't add to the room before training camp, I think that's the obvious nod, even over Lathan Ransom. It would be Damani and then, Trayvon Merrick at those safety spots to start the year. Which, we all know I'm probably a little bit higher on him than both of you guys, but there are some things just from, some of the short videos we've seen that I've liked from Damani so far, but we'll see. I mean, I feel like after minicamp is really when we might see some of these additions in free agency if they go after anyone or even a trade. So we'll see. But that was one guy I kind of wanted to shout out. But anything you guys observed over the limited stuff we could see in those 2 weeks?
Let's see. You're talking about specifically from OTAs, right? Not anything. Okay.
Yeah, we're not jumping ahead here. We'll talk about that.
And it's hard for me to do that because it's almost like I've watched like the Marvels movie at the end of the series, and now I'm trying to talk about like the first Captain America, right? Like all I can think about is the Avengers.
This is what happens when we're a month off.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. Okay, so from OTAs, I mean, look, honestly, I think that Tetairoa McMillan stood out a good bit, and that's a very obvious answer. But I mean, they raved about him, and you see the catches. It's hands catches. It's exactly what you talk about. Why you brought him here is to be a big time target for Bryce Young. You can't really talk too much about the offensive or defensive line because it's sled drills, it's bag drills. There's no contact, there's no cohesive working together type of stuff. Nick Scorton, I think that his physical fitness and his explosiveness, just from the little bit of clips that we saw, and then the way they talk about him, I mean,
that popped. Yeah,
that popped, right? Like it's a different thing than what we've seen as of late. And that's no offense to the DJ Wanhams and stuff that have been here and did their job. But Nick Scorton's a 20-year-old who has a ton of athleticism and a ton of nastiness to him. And I haven't seen it in a while, man. And it gives me the jollies. I'm sitting here and I'm watching it and I'm just getting amped up thinking about this guy and what he could be for this team for years and this year. So those would be ones that stood out to me. I do love the way they talked about Trevon Merrick as well. I think that they are extremely high on him. They showed a couple clips on him. JC looked great. And then we'll talk about some other guys in minicamp. But yeah, those are the guys.
Well,
that probably
Spartan too. We can't forget, and I know you post, I think, had quoted something on Twitter about this, and that was him and Princely studying and setting up the chairs in the hotel room or in the convention center, and
that's right.
Him going through the playbook like that. That shit, you don't see that a lot out of rookies.
Now you told me not to skip ahead, and you're skipping ahead.
Is that skipping ahead? I thought that was during OTAs. I'm sorry.
Well, I think
Steve, I'm all over the place. No, it is hard to backtrack.
I want to say that was released. Bryson, correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say that was released after the blueprint came out. So I was trying to stay in chronological order here. Okay. And he's just skipping around talking about gaining all the fucking stones in his glove.
I just didn't want us to forget about it because I wanted
trying to winter soldier this shit. It's crazy.
One other guy, when I was watching, the short clips from OTAs, I was watching like the defensive line drills, and of course to see Nick Scorton and Princely, hit the drills. But there was another guy that was standing out too, and Pat Jones was popping on those drills.
That's what I was going to mention too.
He was hitting the sled a little harder than anyone else. He was going after the donut a little quicker than anyone else. Like it seems like he's got some juice that he's going to bring to that room.
Yep.
And he's hungry. That's what it seems like to me, just from the short videos that we saw from OTAs. So that's probably the player that stood out the most to me.
Yeah, I want to second that because I know we've been we've been a little hard on that room, and deservedly so. And some of the decisions they've made already this offseason with that room. And I mean, it's still only against pads and, air and stuff like that. But I don't know. He just showed a little bit more juice than I thought he had in that video. I agree with you, Bryson. That was one I was going to mention too. I just want to shout out Seth Brown here. Very kind words. We appreciate this. I don't take these comments lightly at all. So I'm going to cheers you, even though I know we do that usually in a super chat. But I truly appreciate that. I'm glad you love the show, and we appreciate you guys. You guys make this all happen and make us excited about wanting to talk Panthers football. So we appreciate you, Seth, for those kind words.
Yep. Cheers, Seth. Did we get to speaking of
We did not. That was my next order of business here. Zachary Hernandez. He's always dishing out the dough for us. We appreciate it. $10. Put them down, guys, for 3 entries for this awesome t-shirt right here. I can finally say that I have optimism fired up about the season. I think all of us feel that way. Also, I need more metaphors and unhinged Ricky for this podcast. Panthers need to add another corner and a ball hawk safety. Reaper, all caps.
Be careful what you ask for there, Zachary Hernandez. If you ask for unhinged Ricky, man, you are really
playing with fire, Zach.
You are playing with fire, my man. And I like that, though. I'm a Drew Barrymore fan, so fire started me up all day, buddy.
and for the people that just joined or may have joined late, we are doing a giveaway tonight for the Reaper t-shirt from For Panthers Fans Only. Have the banner going across the bottom that you can see. If you comment Reaper, you got to be following us on YouTube. Enter for your chance to win that shirt that Curtis is wearing. It is size extra large. If you do a super chat, you get 3 entries into that giveaway with a maximum of 10. So anyone that just joined or joined late, please comment Reaper and enter for your chance to win it.
So we were talking about OTAs. Let's jump to the blueprint here. We're trying to go in order. I apologize for jumping around here.
Apology accepted.
They got on my ass a little bit. So blueprint, the big obvious thing. Me and Bryson were talking about this before we got on, and it's what transpired at pick 8. and the Rams calling, and when the Panthers were on the clock, how Dan Morgan, Brant Tillis, Eric, whose last name is escaping me, the guy they got from PFF, and just the discussions there about what to do with that trade. So let's talk about that. We don't know, and I want to be clear on this because I've seen some stuff on Twitter. We do not know what that trade was. I don't care what you want to use from trade charts. No one knows what that trade was except for the Rams and the Panthers. Will it come out later? Potentially. But anyone trying to guess it, no one knows what it is. So let's clear the air there, because I've seen shit where people are like, this is what – no. No armchair GM in the basement knows what the hell that trade was besides those two teams. And I don't know if it'll come out. It might. The Rams have leaked stuff before. It sounds like my guess is they're the ones who leaked the Brian Burns stuff that eventually came out. And, that we know how all that transpired. But no one knows what was offered there. So let's be clear there. I want to make that clear because I've seen folks trying to start some shit online and no one knows. So, but let's talk about that for a moment and let's put ourselves in those shoes. And let's start, Ricky, I want to start with you. You're sitting in that chair at 8. And this is so, I'm glad this popped in my head right now. So I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. We had talked about this in our mock draft, which is cool. I'm so glad we got to this conversation because I remember Ricky, I think, had asked me even, would you be comfortable moving back to the 20s and what would it take? And we had that discussion in our mock draft. So it's crazy to think that actually transpired and was almost come to fruition. And I remember saying it has to at least include a first rounder from next year at minimum. And I'm not taking the call if it doesn't. And again, we don't know if it did, but let's discuss that. What do you have taken with the Rams offer? And obviously we don't know what that is. Or are you happy with the way things transpired in this? And, clearly they got the guy that they were convicted about.
Yeah. And I see the super chat. We'll get to that after this segment, but I want to not interrupt what the discussion is first. I think if I remember right, man, and we'll have to go back and look at this, right? But I think even in our mock drafts that we've done multiple times, the Rams were a team that we spoke about, and we were like, they don't have a second round pick. And when we wanted to move out, or when we were talking about moving back, we wanted to get a pick before our second rounder, right? Yeah. So like we had said, as much as I can see that working, like getting into the 20s, it could theoretically work. If you don't get a second rounder, it doesn't seem like the juice is worth it. I still kind of feel that way. If we're going to talk about the hypothetical trade scenario with the Rams, the first next year would have been awesome. But I don't really love not getting another piece. If you're going to move that far back in the first round this year, I wanted something else. So me personally, I'm very cool with the fact that they stuck to their guns, stuck to their conviction, and drafted the player that they – look, man, we talked about this. I had heard that they liked Ted McMillan back in December of last year. Like, there were reports coming out from these national reporters that, like, hey, yeah, he came on hot at the end. Like, he really, like, grabbed their attention. That's not what we had heard from local people, right? We had heard that he was a name that they were already interested in at the beginning of that process. The fact that they stayed so enamored with him and wanted to draft him over the Jalen Walker. And you know what? We saw, shout out Shad from PMP. He was at that Chalk Talk last night for the Panthers. And he quoted them saying something along the lines of Dave Canales talking about Jalen Walker or Ted McMillan, who helps our team out more, right? Jalen Walker versus Ted McMillan. Which one of those things is it? That tells you that Jalen Walker thing wasn't fake, man. So, like, that narrative, too, about, like, y'all are crazy thinking that Jalen Walker was ever going to be the pick. No, they liked him. I just don't know that they anticipated Ted McMillan or T-Mac being there at 8. And when he was, they were like, all right, force me out of this spot. Like, somebody come and force me out of this. And if you can do that, I'll move out of it. But, like, forcing, you're going to give me 1 this year. You're going to give me 2 this year. You're going to give me 1 next year. And you might even give me 4 this year, right? Like, Dan Morgan was saying, make me look like a genius or I'm not going to give you my pick. Like, that's just not going to happen. Too many times we've seen our front office be the desperate one that makes somebody else look like a genius. And they flipped that shit on its ear this season, or at least in this draft period. And we will see how it turns out. but I am always comfortable with a team standing on their laurels of what their evaluations were. I am much more comfortable and confident in a team that does that than a team that kind of panics and goes down the line and does something else. So high expectations for T-Mac. I think that that's okay to have high expectations for an 8th overall pick who plays a skill position. I think that is perfectly okay. And I think that he fits in this offense great. And I'm very glad that they did what they did with that hypothetical scenario.
Yeah, and I think even in the Blueprint episode, Dan Morgan mentioned, like, you know, he sent an offer to the Rams, and if they accepted, then they would have traded back. But he kind of wanted them to decline it because he had conviction on T-Mac, right? And I can't remember the last time when we've had a front office, well, going into year 2 with some continuity and then having conviction on a player so long throughout the process, and that player being there, and then them taking that player and not moving and trading for trading down and accepting a trade that fans might not be so happy about, or the trade value is just not there. So, you know, the Rams sent an offer. They could have accepted it. I'm sure it wasn't a terrible offer, right? I think in the Blueprint, they said that the Panthers were +2 or whatever the value was on the offer. So it wasn't like, by all means, you know, a lowball offer, but it wasn't anything that blew them away to move from 8 to 26. And I'm glad they didn't, because we all know they got the player that I wanted. So I think doing what they did was exactly what I would have done in that situation. Staying there, taking the player you have conviction on, that you've had conviction on for months and months leading up to the draft. You know, there were a lot of things flying around the pre-draft process about his love for the game and things like that, but the Panthers didn't let that bother them. You know, they do their own interviews with him, which we saw some of the tape of that a little bit, and you know, they love the guy and they love the player, and I think that he is going to be a difference maker in Carolina for years to come. So I was excited they stayed there. I'm glad they didn't accept the offer that Dan Morgan sent back to them. It probably was an astronomical ask, and maybe, you know, I wish we could see what that was, but right. You know, getting T-Mac at 8, I couldn't be happier with it, man. I really couldn't.
You know, I wonder why you talked about that quickly before Ricky jumps in, and you know, this is total speculation. I don't know, but I'm curious if they tried to push some of that to try to get T-Mac to slide down. We saw Darren Bates on a podcast literally talk about the video. I was the one that found it and posted it, and it blew up, and even he retweeted it. I wonder if that was kind of and I don't know. Teams will never admit that. We'll never know. But, you know, were they trying to get him? Because like we said, I don't think they ever expected McMillan to be there at 8. You know, they thought maybe Jacksonville was going to go and get him, or one of these other teams in front of them, or even New England. And, you know, that whole thing kind of blew up. Ricky, go ahead. I thought you were going to mention something.
Yeah, no. It's kind of like not necessarily on the same lines, but you talk about Jacksonville moving up and stuff like that. This tells me also, you remember all the dialogue, man, in the pre-draft period and about this draft class was like, it's just not a very good draft class. There's just not very good players. There's not coveted prospects in this draft class. Horse shit, man. Don't let national media, don't let local media, don't let content creators like me, don't let anyone get you off of what you believe about something, because there are plenty of people that were extremely high, not only on T-Mac, but on a lot of these prospects. And you also saw the Jacksonville Jaguars move up for Travis Hunter. Maybe they were interested in T-Mac, and maybe they were saying, hey, guess what? If Travis Hunter is drafted 2nd overall or 1st overall, right? Like if that changes the landscape of this thing. And I know that a lot of these drafts happen, or a lot of these draft trades happen before the day of the draft. Like this isn't something that is new that just pops up. But maybe they still weren't 100% sure on how that was going to go. Maybe T-Mac was this contingency plan, and maybe that contingency plan wasn't some sort of like second fiddle. Maybe they still really like this guy. And it shows you they got a guy in Brian Thomas Jr., and they went out and they drafted another wide receiver, another dynamic wide receiver with a top 5 pick. You don't have to have one good wide receiver on an NFL football team. Breaking news. I just shattered the world right there with that. You do not have to limit yourselves to one good player on offense. In fact, it is a smart move to stockpile talent, to bring in as much help as you can. It doesn't matter if you got Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was a great quarterback, right? Who did he throw the football to? Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison. And Dallas Clark. Like, he didn't throw to just one of them. Tom Brady, yeah, okay, Tom Brady threw to a bunch of scrubs. They also brought in Randy Moss when Tom Brady was already one of the GOATs, right? Pat Mahomes, they keep trying to find him players because when they give him a bunch of, Jags to line up outside, they sit there and they're like, well, why can't we score points? Steve Spagnuolo and our defense is working overtime. You know why your defense is working overtime? Because Travis Kelce at 332 years old is your best offensive playmaker. You have to have multiple pieces. The Carolina Panthers, they went and got their guy. They got a guy for Bryce Young. They got a guy for the franchise. Don't make this all about they don't want Bryce Young to fail. They need to coddle him. They need to help him. They want a good football team, for crying out loud. And that's what they did. And then they got lucky with the second and third round picks, and they were aggressive, and they created their own luck, right? They went up and they made their luck. Look, man, I'm jacked up about it. I love it. Good stuff.
Yeah, we're going to get to our super chats because I haven't even really chimed in on this. And my biggest thing is they had a plan going in. When can we say that about this organization? It felt like these past couple regimes, they flew by the seat of their pants. And here they had a plan. Brant Tillis talked about they had several scenarios already played out and how they were going to go. And they had that going in the trade they wanted if it came to a trade back scenario. And that's the biggest thing for me. They had a plan and they had a guy they were convicted on. They stuck to their guns because the value wasn't what they wanted. And I have no qualms about that at all. If that's what they did and they had a plan for it, I'm 100% backing it. And, I'm hoping the best. And, we see T-Mac play in 10, 15 years, and he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. So I love every bit about that. That's the biggest thing for me. It wasn't, like Ricky said, I think the past regimes, they might have just, all right, let's do this. Let's be another doormat for another NFL team. And everyone's talking about T-Mac for 3 weeks about how the Rams got a steal. And that's what would have happened. That's exactly what would have happened. So just kudos to them, man. They had a plan and they stuck to it. And you can't knock that whatsoever at all. Let's get to some of the super chats here quickly. I was just glad Tepper let folks do their job from the blueprint. $5 from Paez. Cheers to that. We will talk about that because me and Bryson were talking about that before the show.
Cheers, man.
Good to remind everyone, too, that when you do these super chats, you are getting 3 entries into the giveaway for the Carolina Reaper t-shirt. So, B, Paez. And listen, B, if we're mispronouncing the last name, because you've been in here the last few weeks, man, you've been terrific. You've been very involved with all this stuff. If we're mispronouncing it, man, phonetically spell that thing out for me so I know I'm not just calling you the wrong thing. Because I did notice, too, we got Shan B in here. I'm going to bring this up real quick. I don't know if that's Shannon who finally told us, hey, I'm a dude, bro. Like, Shan, if that is you, thank you very much for making that easy on me.
Sounds like Paez.
There you go.
All right. I apologize for a minute. We're big on the pronunciation, so I'm glad you let us know on that. But I do want to talk about his super chat here quickly because me and Bryce were talking about this, and we've been on the side of hating David Tepper, and it's been justified, to be totally honest with you. But it was interesting because, and I know Pat McAfee even brought this up. Panther fans should be excited David Tepper really wasn't chiming in. If you didn't notice, he did talk, but you never heard audio. So I would like to know what David Tepper was saying. It was every time he was about to speak, it was already cut into another shot, and that was obviously, that's done for a reason. They didn't probably want to put any of his audio in there, but I'm curious what those conversations were like. It does seem like he has taken a hands-off approach. I will, from what we know, we don't know what the conversations. Everyone knows I'm not a big fan of that dude. But I would be curious to know what the cuts were in there and what he said. And I will say what's interesting while we're on that conversation. There wasn't a whole lot of conversation with Dave Canales in the blueprint. And I don't know if we're going to get that later on. I thought that was interesting. It was, and Bryson and I talked about this pre-show, and Ricky, I want to get your take on this. We thought our expectations of Brant Tillis's role in this organization, he definitely has a bigger hand than we expected, even just based off of his title. Like, this guy is definitely way heavily involved in a lot of the GM stuff, more than at least we thought initially.
Yeah. Did you notice who was not in the room? They got a lot of heat last year for being in the room and talking.
Nicole?
Yeah.
Yep.
I never picked that out. That's a really good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
She was not in that room this year. And this is not me agreeing with the people that are like, women have no business in an NFL room. First of all, she's an owner. She has business anywhere she wants to be in there. Like it or not, she's got business to be in there. Like, it is quite literally her business. But I did notice that she was not in there. Now, there also seems to have been a shift anyways between like the responsibilities that she's taking on. She's a little bit more of that like community and outreach type of a spokesperson, if you will, or manager lead for that. She's kind of spearheading all of those initiatives, which I think is terrific, because she sounds great when she's out there talking about those things. Like, she does seem like a passionate, genuine person. But when we talk about Tepper, look, man, the three of us have had this conversation. It's going to take a lot to forget about necessarily like some of the shit that he dragged the franchise through. But he also didn't do it, I don't think, out of pure hubris and like selfishness. I'm one of the people that actually do believe very much that this guy wants to win insanely bad. And maybe it is for the bottom dollar. Maybe it is so that he can have another feather in his cap and say that he's incredible at another thing, not just hedge fund, not just investments, right? Maybe he does he yearns for that. I can do this and I can do it better than everybody. I don't really care. If it brings a Lombardi to Charlotte, it could be for whatever reason Tepper wants it to be for. But I think that winning is a big thing for him. And if he's going to be a little bit more quiet and behind the scenes as far as publicly and what we see on video and what's released, that could also be some management by the team, right? By the social media and marketing team. We know they've had turnover there. And so maybe there is a little bit more control. Regardless of that, though, if Dan Morgan is doing his job, if Brant Tillis is doing his job, if Eric Eager is doing his job, and they're all doing it very well, and Dave Canales has the guys on the field playing to their utmost potential, we are not going to have the gripes that we've had with this team and this franchise, including David Tepper. So I'm not going to sit here and say I hate the guy passionately right this second, but I'm also not going to like, hey, let's go ahead and build a statue, man. Right? Like, let's put it up in front of the bank and say that
that's kind of me too. It's like, there's no need to jump the gun. He does, I will say, and I know I was the one pushing the last year, this was a David Tepper move to bench Bryce Young, and I was on that side for a while and fell on that sword. It is what it is now, but it at this point seems like Dave Canales was the one pushing the button on that one. It does seem from the outside that he is letting the football people make football decisions right now. Now, do we know behind the scenes, is he having his weekly meetings with Canales every Monday, every time they lose? I would have to say probably. It's probably still going on. But yeah,
which isn't uncommon for
it does seem to me like he has taken a little bit hands-off approach. But I thought it was funny that every time he was about to say something, you never heard the audio. So
and
I
Black
just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and Black and Blue, I think, is correct there. I remember that now, that Nicole said that fans would love the Scorton pick. I didn't know that. I couldn't really remember if that was in the draft room. She wasn't sitting next to Tepper.
It wasn't a lineup of Nicole. Yeah,
she wasn't front and center.
She was over there on the right side, and she was talking to somebody else. I remember the clip now that he brought that up. But yeah, she was not sitting right there with the rest of the head coach, the general manager, like she was the year prior. So thank you, Black and Blue, for correcting me on that.
And to me, in those blueprint cuts where they were getting ready to turn to Tepper and talk to him, and they would cut away from the audio, it was, from what I remember, like leading up to major decisions in that draft. So talking about turning down the trade and doing and going with the pick at 8. It felt like to me that Dan Morgan was turning to Tepper and talking to him, and then that's when they would cut out. So I haven't been a supporter of Tepper, but I've defended him a little bit. I think more than you guys. Maybe like I'm just the dumbest person in the world, but I agree with you, Ricky. I do think he wants to win. He's not an owner that's afraid to spend money. He's not, like the Bengals owner. They can't pay Trey Hendrickson. They can't pay Shamar Stewart. He's not playing. He's holding out in training camp. So he's not an owner like that, but he definitely is over involved as someone that is not keen to football, right? He did not play. He did not coach. He didn't do anything, but he owns a team and now feels like he should be involved because he owns it. But right now, if I took the temperature, I would say he probably has taken a step back and looked at himself in the mirror and be like, I've been involved and it hasn't worked. It's actually been a complete failure. Like, it's not been good. It's been ugly. And, I think there has been a concerted effort from the social media team to not post about him or not have these press conferences and not include his audio in the blueprint. I think that's, on purpose. But I also do genuinely believe that he is taking a step back and letting Dan Morgan do the work that he needs to do and letting Dave Canales do the work he needs to do. So, yeah, I think it was interesting to see them cut away when Tepper was about to talk, but I can't say I was super surprised about that.
Enough about Tepper. We've talked too damn much about him, to be honest with you. But let's go to Christian Johnson here. I apologize. We got to get going on these super chats because I appreciate every single one of them. $4.99. Cheers to having a competent front office and coaching staff again. Appreciate you, Christian. You will be 3 entries into the giveaway for this T-shirt right here that we will pick at the end of the episode. So stick around for that, please.
And as it stands right now, just to give everyone an update, there are 26 entries right now in the giveaway. So still very good odds. Get in there, grab yourself 3, 5, 6 entries. Man, you're right in the thick of it. You get that shirt delivered to you short.
And I'm just going to shamelessly plug, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got 400 people in here, and we're competing with the NBA Finals right now. I believe they play tonight. I think it's a game. Man,
tonight. We did not think about that with the schedule.
No, we didn't. I saw it after, and I'm like, fuck it, we're going with it. But 400 folks in here while the NBA Finals are on. We do appreciate that. But if you do not subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do. It's very simple, and we are closing in on 1,000 subscribers. I would love to get to that before training camp. So please, please, if you do not subscribe, hit that subscribe button. You'll get notified when we're going live, when new stuff is uploaded. We would appreciate it. It is halftime. Look at Doug here. We appreciate that. Everyone come rolling in. But let's talk a little bit more about Blueprint because there's a couple things I wanted to touch on.
I think there was one more super chat you didn't get to, Curtis. B-Pays. Yeah. The $5 from B-Pays.
Oh, no, we got
the one about Tepper. Wasn't that the one about Tepper?
Yeah, that was the
Tepper one. Did we do that one?
We just talked about Tepper for like a half hour. Bryson, you all right?
I didn't know that was what led to the conversation. Okay, my bad. My bad, B-Pays. My bad.
But Ricky talked about this briefly, and I wanted to mention this because I think people are overlooking this. And a guy who, at the time was, hoping they'd go defense with that first pick. In the Inside the Draft, the article that came out, that Panthers.com put out, Dan Morgan admitted after the fact he strongly considered going defense first in the draft. But the longer he looked at the options, and as Tilla said, they looked at them all many times, they felt comfortable taking a potentially game-changing wide receiver first and then going get a couple guys in the way the board stacked and, fell in their favor. Obviously, they were able to get Nick Scorton, who they had a first-round grade on, and who Ajiro Evero was very high on. And then Princely fell to them, or at least fell to them based on their board that they could get both guys in the second and third. So I did want to point that out because I thought that was interesting. But I want to talk about this because, Ricky, I know you did this beautiful draft board for everyone. And I want to talk about the receivers in that second round because this was one of the things I pulled out and thought was really interesting. And I think also could have altered why they went wide receiver in the first. The Panthers only had 3 receivers with second round grades. I don't know how your board stacked up, so you can tell us that. But where was your evaluation with this class? Did that kind of line up to what you saw? And what did you think of that, of their evaluation of this class?
Honestly, I'll have to look at mine and see what it was that I had, but that's pretty close. I had Tedero McMillan and Luther Burden, I believe, were the only first round grades that I had on wide receivers. I had Jaden Higgins, I had Jalen Noel, Emeka Egbuka, and maybe Matthew Golden. I think I had as second round grades. So I think I had 4. They had 3. I had 4.
Did you have Noel in there?
Yeah, Noel was the second one I said. Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Emeka Egbuka, and Matthew Golden. I think that those were my 4 second round guys. I'll have to double check that. But And also, they didn't say how many first-round guys they had. And I think that would be the difference, too, because if they had Emeka Egbuka as a first-round grade, if they had Matthew Golden as a first-round grade, right, then that kind of changes that. I only had the 2. And I think that also makes me feel so much better about the Tetairoa McMillan pick because, honestly, we talked about this, right? We talked about T-Mac against Luther Burden, which one of those 2, because those were the only 2 that I would have taken right there. And Luther didn't go until later. He's in Chicago. We'll see how that goes. It's a terrible thing for Panthers fans if it goes the way that I anticipate it being able to go with Ben Johnson. Unfortunately, he has Caleb Williams as his quarterback, so that could be the problem. Not Bryce Young. But, yeah, so look, I think that when we talk about that, though, with the 3, my favorite thing that they talk about with Nick Scorton and Princely was when they said they did the draft or the mock drafts, right? And they're like, we never got this scenario. First of all, how cool is it that like Eric Eager and these analytics guys and Brant Tillis are on PFF and PFN and they're running these mock draft simulators the same way that we are
doing.
Yeah, the same thing that we're doing. And granted, like theirs has a lot more weight to it when they're doing it right. It matters, but they are. It's a real tool that you can use to kind of just see what could happen in the NFL draft. Like it's not telling you what's going to happen. It's not predictive. But it gives you so many different scenarios that you get to look at and kind of strategize and say, if for some reason the board fell remotely similar to this. And remember when we did our drafts or we saw mock drafts come out from big publications and they would have somebody like Nick Scorton fall into the second round. Almost every time that I saw that, I was like, if that happens, I hope Carolina gets on the phones immediately because that's the kind of value pick. And it's not even just about me loving the guy. That's a first-round pick that a lot of people liked, right? And he falls into the second. That's what good teams go and get those guys. And this Carolina Panthers team did it a couple different times. They went and they got Nick Scorton. They liked Princely Umamuelen a ton, and they got him too. They brought in 3 guys with those first 3 picks that they thought they had no chance of getting all 3 of them without mortgaging something of value. And they didn't, man. They just moved picks around. And they got their guys. It's a really nice process. That was my biggest takeaway, I think, from the blueprint was how they stuck to their process and they had values assigned and they stuck with it and it worked out.
Hey, I will say this. We never got that scenario either. Like T-Mac, Scorton, and Princeton was never there.
No, we never got it.
So we can attest to that. I mean, we did several online and I've also done some on my own too. And I'm sure Ricky has done some and Bryson. That scenario never came up. So it's interesting, Ricky said those parallels because they're literally using some of the same things. And they honestly, and they admitted this, I don't know if this was in Blueprint, but prior to that, like they also look at other folks' mock drafts and see, kind of how they're feeling and how they see things too. Like they look at that shit as much as no one believes that they do because teams are curious, what do other folks know as well about some of these other teams. So anyway, it is interesting. It brings mock drafts and everyone wants, here we go, another mock draft. It's March, we're doing mock drafts. But like, dude, the guys who are making millions, making decisions for NFL franchises and changing guys' lives are doing the exact same thing as we are. So it is really interesting. And even the PFF aspect with Eric Eager, I hope I'm saying that right. I know someone put it in the chat here and just his role and how they're doing. Hey, is this guy going to be here? I thought that was really interesting in the blueprint of, the odds of someone being there. They weren't basing that decision on if they're going to take a guy or not. It was just letting them know, what are the odds if, Princey will still, still will be there at pick, 78 or whatever it was.
B-Pace, by the way, I had a 5th round grade on Trevor Etienne.
And we're going to talk about him right now because I wanted to mention that was the next place I was going. If someone can find that comment and pull that up. And this was so you had a 5th round grade, but I wanted to talk about this because I think this sheds a little bit of light on. I don't know if we knew this or not. And this was inside the draft, and this is another thing that I pulled because I thought it was interesting. And they had Brant Tillis said that was a guy that we were convicted on as both a returner, which is important for us moving forward, and as a running back. So I think, and then he mentions the new kick return rule with the touchback at the 35. Now we're going to see a lot of returns. So this could be your kick returner going into the season. If they're coming out and saying this, I think that's telling, and that kind of sheds some light on, what his role is going to be probably to start. Is this guy could be your kick returner and then see a limited role. I think obviously Chuba and Dowdle will take the majority of the carries, and they might sprinkle him in here and there. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because I didn't know that. He did return obviously at Georgia, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and in the guide, like I said, we had a 5th round grade on him, or I had a 5th round grade on him, but we had 4 Panther heads out of 5 as far as the fit rating. And for the team fit, we literally talked about exactly what Brant was talking about. And again, this isn't tooting my own horn or anything, or me and Edgar's horn by any means. But when you watch enough of this stuff and you look at their tendencies, and this is what Eric Eager and Brant do, right? They come up with tendencies, they come up with probabilities, they come up with fits, and about where like values are for their team specifically, right? That's the whole point of doing this draft thing, is to learn specifically for Carolina. How does this work? But here was the team fit description. I said ETN proved his ability at both Florida and Georgia. His skill set looks to work with any offensive scheme, but his burst and acceleration after cut should play well in a mid to outside zone like Carolina's. He could carve out a rotational role and contribute as a kick returner while bringing a needed juice. Potential day 3 fit. So, I mean, it is almost to a T what they described his ability to fit in this team for. No matter who they bring, if it's Jonathan Brooks next year, he's 100% healthy, and Rico Dowdle is on the way out, and it's Chuba and JB, Trevor still works well with them. And you talk about, why did Raheem Blackshear stick on this roster for as long as he did? Because of his kick return ability and that change of pace and ability to catch the football out of the background. It was a hypothetical thing more so than anything else, but it was in theory, why does he fit here, right? Like, was that mean? I didn't mean it to be mean. Bryson, when you laugh like that, you always make me feel so bad. But really,
said it was hypothetical.
Well, because they had this idea of what he was going to be, and they just never put it into practice. But with ETN, I think that when you allocate actual draft resource like that, I think you're going to see him put it into practice, man. They're going to play him, and I think that he ends up taking Raheem Blackshear's roster spot.
I agree with you.
Ricky is very humble, and he says he's not going to toot his own horn, but I think it's very impressive for someone in the Panthers content community to not only grade this player similar to the draft position he was actually drafted into the NFL draft, but grade the fit rating for the Carolina Panthers and go through and list the exact reasons why they drafted him in real life. What was it, like a week prior to the NFL draft, a couple days prior to the NFL draft when it was released?
Yeah, I don't remember. I was on a real bender of coffee and anything else that was
So I mean,
again, we got to kick this guy off his hill so we don't lose him to ESPN. So
I know, right? So also, if you know Ricky personally, he is just a piece of crap, dude.
Awful guy.
You can't count on him. He doesn't show up on time.
Giant
He's not
liability.
Do articles. He uses ChatGPT to write stuff.
100%.
So,
yep.
So ESPN, if you're listening, please don't.
You want nothing to do with this. I promise. Yep.
No, but seriously, that's awesome, dude. Congratulations on that, because that's big time, dude.
Thank you, man.
I want to touch on one other topic here from the blueprint. If I can figure out how to share my screen here quickly. Let's see here.
Bryson wasn't wrong about needing that third beer. I just didn't know I was going to need it after the first hour. Look at you.
Dude, I'm on my third one too.
Hey, look at us. Twinsies.
So if someone can pull down, oh, here we go. Pays' comment, and I'll pull down this banner too so y'all can see Bryson's beautiful face. But I thought this needed to be pulled out, and this is airing something out that I think, you can't take lightly, because I think this kind of shapes, even if they add in this offseason before training camp. And it was something that Brant Tillis had said, and he said, we're not just trying to win next year, we're trying to win now, and instill that belief in everybody that this team is heading in the right direction and that we're not stuck in the same gear. We're trying to win now. We've always heard, it's 1 year away. It's 1 year away. It's 1 year away. And we're finally seeing this front office, and this is going out on a limb and saying, no. Like, we are trying to win next year too, but we are trying to win now. And I think that is important. And I also think they need to be held accountable when they say stuff like this, just like we have in the past where, all right, it is time. It's time, quit talking about it. Let's see it now. And I think that is going to be telling too. Do they go out, and we'll talk about that. Do they go out and get another, free agents in that secondary? And do they think there is still some depth issues there? So, just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on these comments by Brant Tillis. And do you believe that? Do you think they're all in on that, or do you think they're still, we want to compete this year, and next year is really the year, we take off?
Listen, man, I think one player on this team has given this front office confidence, has given this coaching staff confidence, has given the owner the ability to step back. And I think we saw it after the benching, the last 10 weeks of the season, Bryce Young playing the way that he did and really changing the course of this franchise going into next season. Like when you have a quarterback that plays statistically top 10 in almost every single aspect for the last 10 weeks of the season with, a very good offensive line, but not great offensive weapons last season. Chuba was playing well, but I think when you have a quarterback and you have a quarterback, you have a front office that's confident. And people, I don't know if we're going to talk about chalk talk, but, the coordinator.
We'll talk about chalk talk. Yeah. Don't jump into it.
the coordinator saying things that show confidence in this team, like and for Brent Tillis to say this, and Dan Morgan to show confidence, and Dave Canales looking all giddy going into the season, and and just being confident overall. I think it's the quarterback. It starts with the quarterback. You cannot win without a quarterback in this league. You just can't. The most important position on the field, and the Carolina Panthers know they have one, and they know they have a damn good one. And I think that also leads into again, we are doing a giveaway tonight for that quarterback's T-shirt made by For Panthers Fans Only podcast. Curtis is wearing it. If you guys are interested, all you have to do is comment Reaper in the chat and follow us on YouTube, and you are entered for your chance to win that T-shirt, size extra large. It is very comfortable. It's the Comfort Colors brand T-shirt. So those are my favorite T-shirts. They're thick and
they're the best.
They fit well.
Right now.
Yeah, I mean they are the best T-shirts. They don't shrink in the dryer, things like that. So, comment and get your chance to win the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers moving forward, the future. 100% believe that he is the guy here in Carolina.
Well said. I think that's pretty spot on. The other thing that I think about it, man, I just think that Brant Tillis is able to read a room, and I think he sees what previous regimes have said. I think that they are in tune with what their fan base feels. We got really good beat reporters, right? You talk about is it this year or next year? Mike Kay was on, and Mike Kay has been on our show a few times. One of our favorite people in the media landscape for the Carolina Panthers and in journalism in general, to be honest. And the conversations you can have with the guy, he's just a down-to-earth, really good guy. But he was on Aaron Duncan's show recently on Unnecessary Bluntness, and they were having a conversation. And, Mike had said something along the lines of 2026 is a really big year for the Carolina Panthers. And he thinks that's when they make their jump, right? Or that's when they are aiming to make their jump. And that doesn't mean that they're going to be poor this year. He doesn't think that either. He said something about this should be a 9-win division, right? If you win 9 wins, you're competing to win this division. But he says that this team wants to be an 11 or 12-win team on an annual basis, and that they're eyeing 2026. And I think that I can understand why his thinking is that, right? Like I can understand the process of how he gets to that point. And I know that the salary cap has something to do with that. The development of certain players in certain positions have a lot to do with that. But I'm along the lines of what Brant Tillis is talking about. I don't think there's any reason that you should be
17-0, baby.
17-0, damn it. We're going undefeated. Like, we're going to be in San Francisco twice this year. Once for Monday Night Football and one for the biggest damn game of the year in February, right? But in realistic terms, or in what other people will call realistic, I'm realistic as shit, 17-0. That is exactly what I think in my heart. But 2026, I get it. But you're also in year 3 of your number 1 overall pick quarterback. And you're in year 2 of one of your first-round pick receivers. And you just drafted another first-round pick, top 10 receivers. And you got Adam Thielen, who, unless somebody slipped him the Benjamin Buttons when we weren't looking, he's not going to get younger. Like, he's going to get older, right? Chuba Hubbard, he's a running back who has now gained some pretty serious mileage on those tires. We have seen how the NFL treats running backs who are due for a tire rotation, right? Like, they're not just going to say, all right, yeah, no, you got some decent tread on there, man. We're going to keep driving this bitch until it falls off. No. They're going to say, we're going to take them front tires and we're going to put them on the back. We're going to try to extend the life of them a little bit longer. And we're going to let Jonathan Brooks handle that front wheel drive. Like, he's going to take the brunt of it. That might sound good, but in all reality, what that means is you're on your way out soon. And that's not a condemnation on running backs, right? That is just saying that is how the NFL as a business operates, and that's how they view that position.
Yep.
The window for this team, guys, in my opinion, is 2 to 3 years that they need to be deep in the playoffs before they blow it up. And I don't think you get deep in the playoffs overnight. I think you got to get in the playoffs this year. And then I think you make a run next year. Similar to how the Bengals kind of did their operation, right? Like the Bengals in year 3 of Joe Burrow, look what they did. Now, granted, he had the injury, right? So it's a little bit different. But they have been a perennial challenger ever since that point. This is what I am anticipating. And I think what Brant Tillis said, I think is very much similar to that of saying, I'm not going to tell this franchise, this fan base, not to expect good things, because that would mean that we're not doing our job well. And I think Brant Tillis believes in himself, and I think he believes in Dan Morgan. And they would be doing themselves a disservice if they were hedging their bets on their own performance.
Well said, Ricky. I think we're going to take a break. It's a great place to take about 30 seconds. We'll run an ad here, and then we'll be back here shortly. We're going to talk minicamp coming up. Well, don't forget, we will talk about these free agents. I know everyone is itching to hear about. So we'll get to that in just a little bit, and then we'll obviously do our giveaway. So stick around for that. If you have entered Reaper, once we pick our winner, we will we'll get out and reach out to you guys, and we'll get that shipped right away for this awesome, sweet T-shirt that for Panthers fans only, and other great content creator for this fan base has created. So stick around. We'll be right back after this quick break. And we appreciate every single one of you. While we're doing that break, please hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We would appreciate it. Exciting news, Panther fans. I'm thrilled to announce our partnership with BetStamp and Sign Up Expert, opening up an incredible opportunity for you to join sportsbooks in your area to get the best odds and new user offers. Head over to our dedicated page at signupexpert.com/Panthers to explore a selection of sportsbooks tailored to your region, each with unique offerings. If you're ready to take sports betting to the next level and show some love to Panthers on Tap, I highly recommend signing up for your next sportsbook through our Sign Up Expert link. All right, before we go to minicamp, I do want to mention we are, if you just tune in, we are doing a giveaway, comment Reaper to be entered into this T-shirt giveaway. We'll be making that at the end of the show, and then we'll reach out to y'all. We would appreciate it. If you do a super chat, you'll get more entries into the giveaway. I know we're up to probably like 30, 35 people so far into this. So there is still a pretty good shot of, winning. And I appreciate folks are listening to us, also watching the finals, NBA finals. I know we're competing with the big dogs tonight, but we appreciate it. I didn't want to pull this up quickly before we get into this minicamp conversation, because I thought I was just going through some of the tweets that I've retweeted over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully I am choosing the right one here. Here we go. When have we, and I'm going to ask you guys this, when have we, the Panthers, have a wide receiver that could do this? I know this is practice. I get it. But when has this team had a wide receiver that's hands catch over his head and what, a foot and a half, 2 feet off the ground? I mean, it's something to marvel at. It gets you excited. I know we were talking about him before, but I don't know when you could say that.
Musa Muhammad, maybe. I mean, going way back, I think early Kelvin Benjamin, rookie season was decent, and it could do this maybe, but once he got into the Dunkin' Donuts and the Krispy Kreme, I think that's when you kind of saw his feet not get so far off the ground. But yeah, there we go. I think that's probably the last time we've had a legitimate wide receiver that's able to do something like this. So I think Legette has it in him as well. I really do. I think we saw a little bit of it last season. We saw some of it, coming up that we'll talk about, I'm sure. But yeah, I think two of the wide receivers we have on this team currently can do a lot of things that we have not been able to do on this team in recent memory. So that's impressive.
Ricky, you want to chime in on that? As he figures out
Yep.
There we go.
Sorry about that. I was multitasking has been the most difficult part about getting back into the swing of this thing here. Normally I can hear when a segment is ending, an answer is ending.
I'm still waiting for that whiskey shot.
Oh yeah, I should have done that, huh? Yeah, I don't think I need that right now, fellas. I think that's asking too much. That's putting a donut on it, Curtis. Yeah, look, this is what I talked about a little bit with the OTAs thing, right? When we talked about which players stood out to you, it's just seeing certain images and seeing some of these really controlled drills. They're not playing against defense. They're not in shells. They're not in full gear. There's no bad intentions on the defense to come and knock that thing away. Who knows if he comes down with it? But simply from a can-do standpoint, it's impressive, man. And it shows exactly why they drafted him. It's the same thing as showing clips of Jimmy Horn Jr., right? Jimmy Horn Jr. is not doing that. But what is Jimmy Horn Jr. doing that stands out so much? That dude is fast as hell.
Moving like the Roadrunner.
And he's sudden and he's shifty. And it just looks different than anything you've seen in Carolina Panthers uniform for some time, right? We all saw Devin Tompkins last year at training camp. Rest in peace to training camp. We all saw him last year, and we all had the same takeaway from it. Damn, that dude can move, right? Like that is a fast, shifty guy, and we ain't seen that in a minute. We all liked ISM, Amir Smith-Marset. Even ISM didn't move like that. Jimmy Horn Jr. gives you that element the same way that T-Mac gives you an element this team didn't have. And that is all we have asked for a few years now, is to build this roster with things that don't currently exist instead of shoving a Jonathan Mingo into a Terrace Marshall Jr. over and over again.
All right, let's go to minicamp here. So we're 2 days in? And they got one more day? Is that right? Is tomorrow the last day? Is it a 3-day minicamp? Yeah. I believe. Yep. So far, 2 days in, give me what you guys, what's your takeaways so far? Obviously, we get a little bit more coverage now that the media, I think, they're there all 3 days. But thoughts so far on minicamp? This is really, once this is over with, it's players get a break until we hit training camp mid-July. So, I feel like this is kind of the evaluation period. And after this week, I think Carolina will decide, do we really need to go out and get some other guys, either through trades or free agency? But let's just focus on the Panthers right now. What have you seen so far in this 2-day period?
Yeah, I'll start with a player that you mentioned briefly earlier, but a guy that I'm pretty high on, man. I really am. And I tweeted earlier today that he's making the team, and that's Hunter Renfro, dude. He is moving. He is looking healthy. He is looking like someone that had a serious medical issue that had to take time off primarily because of that. And now he's healthy and he's getting back into the league. There was a video that circulated, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago with the safety from the Los Angeles Chargers. His name's escaping my mind, but he was drafted high, talking about, Tyreek Hill and what's another wide receiver that just moves well and really it's hard to play against. And he mentioned Hunter Renfro, and the dude that was interviewing was like, "You're really mentioning Hunter Renfro in the same sentence as Tyreek Hill?" And God, what the safety's name?
Derwin James.
Yes,
Derwin James.
Derwin James was like, "Yeah, bro, he's like that. Like he is like that, and he is moving like that. Like they called him an encyclopedia salesman, and he's like, he is no encyclopedia salesman, bro. He moves different, and he's been showing that in training camp so far. He looks like the dude that was playing for the Raiders a couple seasons ago. So I think bringing him in and getting him, I would imagine for like dimes, pennies on the dime. I think he's going to add another like younger version of Adam Thielen that Bryce Young is comfortable throwing to. That's that possession wide receiver that gets open when you need him to get open. I think he's been really impressive in the videos that I've seen. Of course, you have J.C. Horn talking about Chau Smith-Wade, him being probably the most impressive player that J.C. Horn's seen in training camp. I know Ricky probably doesn't agree, but Smith-Wade's been balling.
Don't do that to me.
And Bryson, don't take them all here. So after
I'm not.
Smith-Wade, let's go to Ricky.
Yeah.
There's your guy, Hunter Renfro, right there in that
there
clip,
he is.
by the way.
Yeah, I would love to hear Ricky's opinion on that too. So
And
Ricky,
hey, by the way, guys, folks have been saying that guy's name wrong. It's Chau Smith-Wade. It's Chau Smith-Wade. That's how they pronounce it.
Shaw.
It's how Canales has said it. It's not Cho. It's Chau Smith-Wade.
Okay.
That's how you say his name. At least that's how Dave Canales said it in the presser. So let's all stick on board with that.
So Chau Smith-Wade, yeah, he's been locked in, dude. According to J.C. Horn, I mean, when you got the best player of the defense, arguably, him and Derek Brown saying that he looks like the best player on the field, I think that's that's a lot, coming from J.C. Horn. So that's impressive. But I'd say those two are primarily the ones that have stood out to me. But man, shout out to Hunter Renfro. He is making the team. He is going to be on the final roster starting week 1.
Ricky, do you feel that way? Do you think he's a lock to make the 53 right now, or you think it's too early?
I don't think it's a lock, but I think the reason why I don't think it's a lock because I'm not sure that there are that many locks right now on the roster. I think for Hunter Renfro, one of the biggest things that I think anyone would agree on, whether you're a Hunter Renfro supporter or detractor, or if you're in neutral, right? I think that what you're looking for is durability. And now this is a guy who hasn't played a ton of football in the past 2 years. And so what he looks good in right now, not wearing pads, not doing all this stuff in June, let's see what he looks like after more strenuous activity in training camp with pads on in hotter weather. And let's see that he holds up. Let's go through preseason. Let's go through all of that. I think that he has the ability and the talent that he should be on an NFL roster because we've seen him find success in the NFL. People talk about he's going to need to figure out something with special teams. Sure, maybe, except for the fact that he is a punt return specialist and that he has contributed there before. Now, is he going to be a gunner on kickoffs? No, he's not going to. But that's also where you're looking at some of these other players that you have, right? That's also looking at some of these linebackers, some of these safeties that you could have, some of these corners that you have. Shamar Bartholomew, I know he's had a couple of interceptions, but he's going to make his hay on special teams. That's where he's going to do his thing. A guy like Claudin Sherless, if he's going to make the team, it's going to be because of special teams. It ain't because of his ability to play inside linebacker. So there are just things about this team that you can't look at Hunter Renfro and say, yeah, but he's not going to be a good gunner, so he shouldn't make the team. If Adam Thielen gets hurt, Adam Thielen's been hurt before, almost pretty frequently recently, right? Jalen Coker has already dealt with soft tissue injuries. Now, look, he looks great. We've seen clips of him here while we're talking. He looks great when he is out there. But the fact that he's had to take some time off to not aggravate soft tissue injuries when he had soft tissue injuries last season as well.
Rose boom there looks ugly. I'm sorry. That's some slow-ass movement. That's some slow-ass movement.
I'll tell you right now, man, if you watch that linebacker drill right there, you're not going to feel very good about the linebackers in general. And I'm serious, man. You could just see the movement is not the thing.
They're slow. It's like they got
there's a lot of banking. I'll tell you the defensive success for this team. There's a lot of banking on the front 4, front 7-ish.
47 looks good though.
Oh yeah, you love Josie. You love that. Yeah, you do. That's Josie's girl right there, good. Bryson.
Yeah. Josie's on a vacate. Never mind. All right.
But no, what I'm saying about Hunter though is that this isn't a team that's in the position to get rid of players that are impactful NFL contributors. And whether that's depth or whether that's starters, it doesn't really matter because what we saw last year, what we saw the year before, a lot of times your depth players become starters. And that is something that we have grown accustomed to. And what I'm not going to do is get rid of good football players because you're worried about them sitting on the bench and not contributing on special teams. I want guys that when their numbers are called to contribute in the bigger 2 phases. It's a 3-phase game. I'm not saying that special teams doesn't matter. Absolutely it matters. But how many times are you seeing touchbacks on kickoffs, right? So how much impact does that gunner have if he's getting 3 returns a game that he's defending? How much impact is that player having as opposed to the wide receiver who could possibly play 4 to 6 games as a starter when your other guys are injured? I am going to go with the guys that make an impact where there is no drop-off. Part of the reason I think they bring in Rico Dowdle is so that there is no drop-off from Chuba Hubbard. It is the same style. So what does Hunter Renfro do well?
5, I'll tell you that.
And what's the argument about Hunter Renfro? Oh, he does the same thing as Adam Thielen. Well, who is Bryce Young's favorite receiver? Adam Thielen. So if Adam Thielen's not available, wouldn't it be lovely? Or here, hold on. Let me do this. Let me give my ode to Brian Wilson. R.I.P. Brian Wilson, one of the founders of the Beach Boys who just passed away. Wouldn't it be nice if Hunter Renfro could be exactly like Adam Thielen? When Adam Thielen is out.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Very much.
That's awesome.
Does that not is that not make sense though? Like from a logistical standpoint, does that not make sense that if we got Rico Dowdle who could do the same thing as Chuba and you don't give a defense a rest, don't you want Bryce Young to not have to sacrifice something if Adam Thielen ends up being a 35-year-old again?
Yep.
Like that's just the way it is, man. So like give me the guy who could keep on playing football and keep Bryce Young playing the level that he's playing. And so that makes a lot of sense for me. Do I think he's a lock? Not yet. Stay healthy.
That was beautiful, Ricky. That was beautiful.
Thank you, guys. I'm a big Brian Wilson Beach Boys guy, so I had to figure out a way to get my guy in there.
I will say this. I don't think he's a lock yet. I've seen way too much hype in, minicamp and training camp to be burned so many damn times. I mean, we're talking about Jalen Coker, who was cut and didn't even make the 53. And the guy was, a starter, week 8 on or week 6 on or whatever it was. So, but he does look good. I mean, he's moving well. It's against air. We don't know. We'll see once it's pads and middle of summer in Charlotte and he's going up against, in some of these joint practices, if he can hold his own still and be conditioned for it. But yeah, he's definitely, I mean, he's showing promise, and that's what you want to see. He's making the cut. The guy's always going to be shifty. I mean, that's his game.
Come back to me when you're done too, because I didn't get to talk about Chau Smith-Wade either, and I want to.
And I'm the same way with Chau Smith-Wade. Is I'm tempering expectations because I know he is the quote unquote the OTAs, MVP, whatever you want to call it. But we got to temper our expectations. We don't. Who's been our
minicamp and OTA and training camp darlings the past couple of years?
TMJ.
Big year for Mingo coming. Mingo's gonna break out.
Maybe 80 sometimes. They mentioned 80.
Ian Thomas.
Yeah.
So we've had that.
Nick Scott, man. Third starter right there.
So I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit. And I this is what I think. It's going to be the telltale sign when minicamp's over. They go out and get a corner. They're not comfortable with Chau Smith-Wade. It's that simple. If they go out and get a corner. Yeah, you're right. But if they go out and get a corner, I think that's a telltale sign. Or they go out and get a safety. They're not comfortable with Damani Richardson or Ransom starting right now. That's the obvious. That's where you'll kind of see the tea leaves where they lie, is if they go out and get one of these guys. And we're going to talk about them. And I know everyone's going to antsy about that. We're going to talk about those guys. But if they go out and do that, I think that's where you see the true sign of what they're really feeling like. But I know you want to get. I'll let you get to Smith-Wade quick, and then I want to touch on something that we haven't talked about at all.
Yeah, let me just knock it out real quick because Bryson thinks that I hate Chau Smith-Wade. He thinks I hate him.
I don't think I know.
See, listen to him. Listen, he's going to slander
me
openly
here. Ricky, come on.
I want everyone to remember my lovely song that I just sang. I could never have that angelic voice and hate somebody actively. You guys have to believe me on that, right?
That's a good point.
But here's the thing.
That really is a good point.
I don't hate Chau Smith-Wade even a little bit. And if you go back and watch any of the things that I've said about Chau Smith-Wade, I said that I don't feel good about handing him a job if he doesn't earn it. And that I thought the competition was what was necessary for that nickel position, because I also felt that nickel position is a very critical one. And I'm going to go ahead and re-roll this training camp or this mini camp footage while we sit here and chop it up. But I think that nickel role is a pivotal one. One of the things that I've been doing, and if you follow me on Twitter, you see this, 100 days, 100 plays, the countdown the regular season, And today I actually did a Chau Smith-Wade play, the interception against Baker Mayfield. The thing about Chau,
he's trying to get brownie points. Don't let him fool you, but go ahead.
That's not even it, man. Here's the thing, though. I started watching. I went back and I watched Chau Smith-Wade again. I pulled up NFL Pro, has awesome stuff where you can literally just pick a player and put on field on the filter, and it will show you every single play that player is on field. You find him and you can watch every single play that player is on the field. If you want to watch players and you want to learn their strengths and weaknesses, that is my recommendation for you. Go and do that. Filter that out and go watch that. It'll take some time, but go and do it. But here's what I saw about Chau Smith-Wade. He has really good ball skills. He has smart recognition. He is hesitant and apprehensive. And that hesitancy and apprehensiveness is exactly where my concern stemmed from with him, along with maybe a little bit of his short area quickness and lateral agility, because when you're playing nickel, you're on an island. You don't have that out of bounds line that is your second defender that's playing with you, right? Now he's not scared. Don't let that apprehensive and hesitant thing make you feel like I'm calling him scared. He's not. In fact, he is more confident in his ability to cover in a man situation than our cornerback too, Mike Jackson is. Mike Jackson wants to be able to face you, and he wants there to be 5-6 yards in between you, and he wants to play downhill. Chau Smith-Wade will play on your hip. He will follow you. He will be on you, and he is confident in his ability to mirror your actions. But in the run game, he could be a little bit safe, where he doesn't attack angles. He slow plays into them. And I think that what they want to do, if they're going to play nickel and they're going to play these sub packages and he's going to be the guy, I think they need him to trust himself and have confidence. Go back and watch that Tampa game after that interception. Watch the end of it. Watch the rest of it in the overtime period. Chau Smith-Wade played like a madman for the rest of that game. Why do you think that is? Because he just saw himself make a great play and he believed in himself. Maybe that's the corner that he turned. Maybe this dude is playing confidently. Maybe that is what JC sees. We don't see that because we can't watch any of this stuff that's happening, right? We don't see the workouts. We see these clips. But if that's the case, dude, I would love nothing more than for Chau Smith-Wade to become an absolute baller. But I was hesitant about giving a 5th-round pick who had never played nickel full-time the job as the nickel corner just because he was the only one on the roster. But I would love for him to ball out, and I think it would be gigantic for this defense.
All right, I want to touch on something that we have not talked about yet, and it's honestly a position that is still up in the air, and it's, I think, a pretty vital one. That's the center spot. And we've, the competition, it's Austin Corbett, Cade Mays, who's going to start. Their contracts are interesting. It's obviously a little bit lower cash. Corbett coming off an injury. Cade Mays stepped in last year, did a pretty admirable job playing aside of some of the best guards the Panthers have had this past couple of years. And I've seen some things on, some of the reporters that have been there, and it's not an account that I follow a lot, but it was someone that I thought was just interesting that pointed out that Corbett had been working a lot with the twos, and that was in OTA. So I don't know what it is now once minicamp has started. And I don't know if some of these beat reporters can even talk about that. Honestly, some of that stuff they got to keep in-house of what can they really discuss or whatever the lineups are. I know there's some things there. But what are you guys' thoughts on that competition? Obviously, they haven't shown a lot, and we're not in pads yet. So I think that's obviously a big part too, and we'll get to training camp, and the dust will settle on that. But your just thoughts on that center competition, and who do you ultimately think pulls ahead in that? And do you think Carolina, whoever doesn't make it, do they try to, dish him to another team or even a cut candidate possibly? I
do not believe that it is legitimate competition. I think when Corbett was healthy, he was playing, according to PFF, take it for what you will, but playing like a top 5 center.
I tried to mute y'all. I'm sorry. I tried to mute.
Just ignore the coughing in the background. But
yeah,
if you know anything about Curtis, he is like a perennial cougher.
The good thing is you can't catch the plague from the internet. So it's just there in Wisconsin, Raleigh, North Carolina.
You can always
Dude,
count on Curtis to call.
I blame this shitty mouse. This clicker is a piece of shit. And
you blame the mouse for you having COVID?
I clicked the mute button and it didn't click, and I started coughing. I'm like, shit, I'm still on. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, while Cade Mays filled in admirably, I think there were some deficiencies there from that position when he was playing. I think when Corbett was there, it was just better overall. And I think if Corbett's healthy, he's the starter. I don't think there's any question about that. I really don't think Cade Mays starts over Corbett in any world where they're both healthy. So I think Corbett's your starter. As long as he is 100% ready to go, that's your starting center. I think Bryce Young probably has more comfortability with Corbett based off of the way Corbett was playing when they played together. Not that Cade Mays played bad, but I think Corbett played better than Mays did at that position. So I don't think that they'll ship anyone off. I think that to have someone like Cade Mays as a backup, which is something that we were kind of mad at them for last season. Like, okay, you have a guy that's starting at center for the first time ever. You don't really have a backup. Now they have Corbett coming back from injury. Now they have Cade Mays that they know can play center, fill in and fill in decently. I think they keep both the guys. I think Corbett's the starter, and Mays can fill in if he needs to. So that's my opinion on the matter.
Yeah, so when I see that Corbett is taking snaps with a second team offense, right, that doesn't alarm me even remotely. And the reason for it is because they said that this is a competition for the starting center position. If you understand what those words together mean, and first of all, those words put together equal a sentence. So if you understand what that sentence is telling you, it is telling you that they are going to see what both of them can do with all units. They are going to put Cade Mays in the first team with the first team offense to see how that unit does. They're going to put Austin Corbett in the first team offense with that unit to see how that unit does. I mean, that is literally the definition of it. I'm not worried about that. I look at it the same way as Matthew Wright and Ryan Fitzgerald. They're alternating days, right? Why are they alternating days, guys? Because that's a competition. And they want to see what each of them does on their time. That is exactly what a competition is in training camp and in minicamp. So that doesn't bother me. Now, as far as the trading, the depth, we know that they have, or at least I saw pictures on the team site and noticed this. And shout out Aaron Duncan, where we have a chat that we've talked to him a little bit about too. And he noticed the same thing. Chandler Zavala was in the group that was taking snaps as a center. You can go to the Carolina Panthers website, look at the training camp. They do like their daily things that has dates on it. I forget which date it was, but there is a picture of guys snapping the ball. And Chandler Zavala's face is in one of those pictures. So they have Chandler Zavala, Austin Corbett, Cade Mays, and Brady Christensen all taking snaps at center. Could they trade one of those guys in theory for an impact player or for a draft pick that could turn into an impact player? Absolutely sure they could. Here's my issue with that. And y'all tell me if I'm just being like nervous, right? Maybe I'm one of those guys that like packs his basement with fucking military meals. So in case, the Russians bomb us, I'm set. But I'm looking at the offensive line and I'm thinking very, very earnestly that the Russians could fucking bomb us, right? Like I have seen this Carolina Panthers offense play football with who was that guy, man? God damn it, I can't even think of his name now. It was the offensive lineman that ended up going to Tennessee when Frank Reich was our coach, and we had the offensive lineman that came in the guard. Then he went to
Michael Jordan?
No, man, hell no, not Michael Jordan. Don't say that shit to me. Curse at me like that on national internet. No, I'm talking about it. Never mind. We got him off of waivers.
This guy?
No, he's still
not
on the team.
Andrew Rame. No, Throckmorton. Thank you, Throckmorton.
Yeah.
And the reason I can never remember his name is because it sounds like some sort of Nickelodeon cartoon, like the Throckmortons. Like
used to be a Saint too.
Yeah, he was a Saint too. He was everything that was wrong with the NFL. Like I didn't want him anywhere near the Carolina Panthers. But I saw him play football for us, and I saw the way that went, I saw the way that Chandler Zavala looked at his rookie year. Pat Elflin, thank you very much for Pineda Tempest also bringing that one up. I have seen Dennis Daly. I mean, look, we can literally go down the Rolodex of awful offensive line play we've seen here in Carolina. So I think that if you're looking at a surplus of adequate, competent NFL players on the offensive line, I don't think that the wisest thing in the world is to trade one of them. I think it's to keep that in your back pocket so that when the physicality of the NFL rears its ugly head, you are not down to saying, I wonder what Calvin Throckmorton is doing today. Do we need to call him? Do we need to get him off of that couch in, Florida or wherever he is? He sounds like a Florida guy. Like, I just imagine him like looking at iguanas, maybe try to catch one and cook it or something. But like, I think that we should stick with what we have. And also Brady Christensen, if you use him as your center, right? If he's the guy that you end up using because you get rid of, let's say you get rid of Cade Mays and you keep Austin Corbett because he wins out, because I'm with Bryson here. I think that Austin Corbett is the better player. On film, I think Austin Corbett is a much better player than Cade Mays. And I don't think it's necessarily just in the run game, but in the pass game. I think that he is a better communicator. I think that he is more agile. And I think that that helps that unit as a pass protecting unit.
Well, he has experience, not as that position, but like experience on that on the line.
That's right. And so if Austin Corbett wins out and you trade Cade Mays, and then all of a sudden it's Chandler Zavala and Brady, if Brady's your two, Brady was also the guy that did spot starts for Icky against the Giants last year. He's also the guy that would start for Taylor Moton if Taylor Moton's 33-year-old knee starts acting like a 33-year-old right knee, right? So if you move him out and you get rid of your utility offensive lineman to play center, who's going to play those positions? Or you're constantly changing around the continuity of that unit and putting in different pieces on a week-by-week basis. That is not going to work. Like, what is the main thing about this offensive line that works so well? Continuity, familiarity, playing together. This is a unit, not a player. Like, you're not asking, can he beat this corner one-on-one? Nah. Do you understand your responsibilities? Do you trust the man next to you to pick up on his responsibilities? And so, for me, I keep everything together.
Well, and you got to remember, too, I mean, the line pretty much across the board last year, give or take 1 or 2 games, was healthy. The odds are that's not going to happen this year. That's just the reality of the NFL. So there's going to be a guy, and we can't forget, and I think a couple of us were at this training camp last year. There was a scary moment where Robert Hunt went down, and I thought the guy might have been out for the year in training camp last year. So, and I don't want to speak the bad juju out there because I don't want to be that person either. And I know I took on that role last year, so you might expect it, but you got to have that in the back of your head that you're not going to have this offensive line fully healthy the whole year. It just most of the time doesn't happen. So, and for it to mostly happen last year, the odds are it's probably not going to happen this year. So, yeah, I'm all for keeping a lot of those guys. And I know there's been some, people at least having the discussion of, do they try to trade a guy, if someone goes down from another team? I think we're all on board of saying, let's keep whoever we can because it's been a nightmare in that room and we know what that looks like and the horror of it. So I think we're all kind of skittish of let's just keep as much depth as we can at that spot because we're used to it being dog shit. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Well, didn't they sign Yosh Neiman last year and had high expectations? And where is he right now?
Yeah.
Because it didn't work out, right? So I just don't understand how you have something that works and you look at it and say we should get rid of it for the possibility of something being decent for us.
Well, I think because you look at depth at other positions that are just limited, and you're like, man, well, we're rich here, so let's substitute to try to make up for us.
What are you going to get? What do you, Bryson? What do you think you would get for Cade? What do you think you would get for Cade Mays in a trade, Bryson?
6th or 7th.
6th or 7th. I
don't even think you get that. I don't even think you get that.
And everyone wants to bring up what we got Mike Jackson for, right? We got Mike Jackson for this, 7th round linebacker that didn't even make an NFL roster. That's terrific. But we're also talking about upgrading the position that Mike Jackson plays. So how great was it? Or was it a placeholder for something that actually is doing what you want it to do? right?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. If you think that you're going to get another Mike Jackson, first, maybe it's even lightning in a bottle to get a Mike Jackson caliber player like that. And if that's the lightning in the bottle, give me the guy who started at center or interior offensive line or offensive tackle and made Josh Neiman expendable.
I wanted to touch on going back to Tedero McMillan because if you haven't seen anything today, he was obviously held out for an injury. I just wanted to get your guys' gauge on any concern there, or is this it's an injury in June? It sounded like it was minor, a little flare up, but any concern there with the top pick for Carolina being held out today?
Gonna be honest, I did not know that. I need to, I guess, get on Twitter. Busy day at work, so I haven't had a lot of time. But yeah, I think at this point of the season, I don't think there's very much concern for me from a player, especially Curtis. You said it was held out because of a flare up or whatever.
Yeah, I'll read it quick here. So T-Mac's fine. Canales said he went down for a ball and got kicked in the leg and it swelled up. So we just, as a precaution, sat him out today. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. So we'll see if he shows up tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I just thought, I know it's the first pick. Like any guy who's going out when you're pick 8, for me at least, sounds some alarm bells. But Ricky, anything from that? Or are you like, yeah, it is what it is?
No, look, if anyone saw, yesterday or 2 days ago, Tuesday was the last day of school for Charlotte Mecklenburg schools here. So I took my kid and watched Lilo and Stitch, and they showed the clip of Xavier Legette hobbling when he hurt his foot, right?
Gave me a damn heart attack.
Dude, I'm in the theater. It's silent. You can see the light from my phone. So everyone's already like, can you just put the phone down, dude? But I'm seeing it and I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Said it out loud. My kid looked at me. He's like, S word, dad. And I'm like, yeah, no, I hear you, man. But Xavier Legette just hurt his foot. And he goes, is it bad? like we both are like, are we wrecked? Are we going to cry now? But so again, then he comes back and he plays, right? Then he finishes the practice out and he plays the next day. So is it anything? No, I'm sure it's not. But is it nothing? No, I don't think it's nothing either. Like, I think any time that there is an injury like this, you hold your breath and you get a little bit nervous as a fan because it just makes you think of, it's like when, you're sitting there and like, you're like, hey, worst case scenario, what would we do if this happened? You never like thinking about the worst case scenarios. When you think about the worst case scenarios, it's like that South Park thing. Like you're not having a good time. Like there is nothing good about worst case scenarios, dude. You want to stay away from those things. This stuff makes you think of it. Do I think T-Mac's in trouble? Hell no. I think T-Mac's fine. I think he's going to practice probably tomorrow. But it still makes you pucker just a little bit, right? Like still don't make you all the way feeling good.
Another thing I want to touch on because I don't think I know he's been in this spotlight, and we'll talk about it here. The Glorilla and XL. So we'll start with that, and then we'll talk about what he did today because it sounded like, and again, I was I was pretty remote today, so I did not see a lot. I'm honestly catching up on what happened today in practice, just reading from the Charlotte Observer and some other beat reporters, but it sounded like XL had a really good day today. But let's start with he's really had a star-studded offseason, really. I mean, he took over the NFL account at the horse races. We all saw that, and now he's showing up on Glorilla's latest track and in the video. And so what are your guys' thoughts on that? Are you a little nervous about the what do you want to say? There it is. I would take that down because I don't want copyright. We might get removed if that is played, Ricky. So please take that down. I do.
Are you sure? Are you sure that one would do it?
Yes, you cannot play audio. I know for more than 15 seconds. I know that's the way the TV business works. If you play anything more than 15, you're screwed. And our video might be docked.
Hey Bryson, count to 14 for me.
No, don't run it.
Let's go.
We've all seen it. So Glorilla XL, what do you think of his off season? Are you nervous about that at all, or the dude's living his life? Let him live his life.
Living his life. Let him live his life. I think every interview you've heard about the team and team people talking about it. A, he had a procedure done. He has healed up from it to the point where he's practicing in full. He had a little bit of a scare on his foot and came back, finished that practice, and then practiced again today. I can't judge him, man, until he's out on the field and doing something. And I'm also not going to judge a 25-year-old from the sticks of South Carolina celebrating the fact that people want him around and want to pay him to be around. That's nuts. Because you know what, man? I'm going to tell you right now, if somebody wanted to pay me to do even a smidget of what they want Xavier Legette to do, I'd give them money. I'd be like, yeah, no, I'll send you like a gift card to Target or something. Like, you don't got to pay me to do it. I would love to be involved in that. Let this young man live his life. If he doesn't perform on the field, I don't think it's because he did a Glorilla video. I don't. I think that it's performance-based. I think that it's football-based. And I don't think that 3 days extra on a jugs machine would have changed the trajectory of this man's career. And so I think as a 25-year-old, let that man live his life. Let him enjoy it. I don't know much about Glorilla. I know that they both have devastating accents. So that works out. That checks out to me. And it seems like he had a really good time, man. It's a good video. And it samples Keisha Cole. Samples Keisha Cole Love, which Bryce Young did on his rookie feature. Now, can I play that video? Because that's Bryce Young singing for like 15 seconds.
No. 10 seconds of it. 10 seconds of it.
I'm telling you, the video might get removed, and I don't want this episode getting dropped.
Okay,
we
fine.
played a 10-second
All
video.
right, I'll post
We've
it
all
on Twitter.
seen it. Post it on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm just trying to save us. I'm telling you. YouTube
Curtis
is very picky.
Killjoy. Look at Bryson. Bryson is chomping at the bit for this. He wants it.
I know.
Never
but YouTube is crazy. YouTube is
Oh,
crazy.
there you go. Hey, Bryson, do it.
Oh boy,
Oh,
we're
man.
going down. We're in a train wreck here.
Rest in peace to Brian Wilson and apparently Keisha Cole.
Yeah. No,
All right, Bryson, fire away.
Yeah, I really don't think being involved in the music video is gonna derail Xavier Legette's career. I think he showed up to minicamp and OTAs and showed, pretty well that he's improved from last season. Be it against air, but he's on the field, had the injury scare, but came back. I think he's taken the proper steps to move forward from last season and become a first round talent that we drafted him to be. I wish it was a Friday night, that's for sure. I did not, so I don't have to go to work tomorrow, but I unfortunately do. But yeah, I think if you're overreacting about a music video and Xavier Legette's progress in the NFL, I think that's just a reach. You're grasping at straws. Like the dude, he's a young guy living his life, like going to the Kentucky Derby, being involved in a rapper's music video. Maybe they have a relationship, we don't know, but like Glorilla is a beautiful woman, and if he's involved with her, then congratulations to Xavier Legette. Let's just lay off. It's the off season, right? Like he's still going. He's showing up to minicamp. He's showing up to OTAs. Like, let's chill out a little bit. Let's let the man live his life.
Well said,
I'm not gonna reiterate what you guys said. I agree with you.
But you need to sing the song now, Curtis. We've all sung a song. Sing a
I
song.
am not that. I haven't been trained that much to be in singing. That's pretty on key of how Bryce Young sounded.
Yeah.
So, but I will say this: there's one caveat. If we're starting to see this when the Giants, the boat picture right before the playoffs, that type of shit, I don't have time for that. That I don't want to see. This stuff, it's the offseason. Dudes from Mullins, South Carolina, like Ricky said, the sticks of South Carolina. Let the guy have a little bit of fame. People love his voice. They want to hear him talk. That's why the NFL, has gravitated towards him. And then obviously, he's got some swag and, Glorilla's got an eye for him. It is what it is. Like Ricky said, I don't think making this music video is going to change any trajectory, but, if it is in season and shit's happening and, that's a whole different story. But the off season, dude, let the guy, he's young, his second year, like, let's just let him be here.
The fun part too is that we could sit here and say, let him do this, let him have this, let him have this. Ain't nobody letting him do shit. He's going to do what he wants. He earned it. He got drafted in the first round. He's popular. He's got appeal. Nobody has to let Xavier Legette do a damn thing. He's going to do what Xavier Legette wants to do and what he's afforded the opportunity to do.
Let's talk about kickers. Ricky mentioned it. We can touch on this quickly or as long as you guys want, but we have a kicking competition just like there was last year. Fitzgerald versus Wright. They're kicking on really skinny posts. I don't know. I don't remember if they did this last year. I thought it was very similar to what the NFL had originally. Yeah, those hats are terrible, by the way. Bryson, do you like that? You had retweeted. Did you like the hats? I was not a fan.
I don't like them. I'm not purchasing one. I'm good.
I think that if you like the training camp hats, we've removed 3 entries into the giveaway. That's like a disqualifier. No, I'm kidding. And by the way, this is a great time to plug this again for anyone that's here. 564 people watching the show. We are doing a giveaway. You'll see the scroller on the bottom for a terrific shirt for Panthers fans only. We got Dylan, who is in here, who just made one of the funniest jokes. If you know what Glorilla looks like and you understand, he says she's got some far-pied eyes for Xavier Legette. That's awful, but hilarious at the same time. Dylan, you need some serious help with that one.
I'm not even touching.
But they make terrific shirts. Curtis is wearing it with the Carolina Reaper. All you have to do is comment Reaper and be subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you do a super chat, you get 3 extra entries into it, and we will draw that here towards the end of the show. Right now, we are sitting at 31 entries, so you still have a good chance of getting that. But yeah, back to the show.
Yeah, hey, don't forget this guy right here, Bryce Young, whooped Michael Penix's ass the last week of the season and sent Atlanta home packing. And don't forget it, Falcon fans, if you're tuned in, because I know you are, and we live rent-free in your fuckers' heads all day long. And I want to go off on a tangent of how everyone is riding Penix and thinks this guy's going to the Super Bowl, but that's a whole nother conversation. But let's get back to kickers here for a second. So Matthew Wright kicked today. Fitzgerald kicked yesterday. Wright went 3 for 5 today. He missed a 47-yarder, a 53-yarder. I'm getting Eddie Pinheiro nightmares here. Fitzgerald yesterday went 5 for 5, and I think everyone's different. I've seen 57, I've seen 58, I've seen 59 made yesterday. I don't know which one it is. Maybe we pick in the middle and say it was a 58-yarder, but he hit all 5, and he also has missed some too. So we can't. I'm not doing disregard that, because there was a couple I've seen that he's missed, I think, in OTAs, Fitzgerald. So obviously he had a really good day on Tuesday. But where are you guys on this? Are we totally on the Fitzgerald train here? I know I am, because I know what Matthew Wright has done really in the NFL, and he's a great, spot kicker when you need him, like a fill-in dude. I don't know if I want this guy kicking for 17 games and kicking a 55-plus yarder and feel comfortable with it.
I'm on the Fitzgerald train, man. I think this is the same when I'm talking about the center competition. I think it's Fitzgerald's job to lose. They paid him as a undrafted free agent to come in, good money, and I really do believe that he's the kicker moving forward. I think Matthew Wright is solely brought in for competition purposes. They knew this offseason, signing him, that they were going to bring in someone else and they were going to compete. But I think Fitzgerald has shown through the short time that we've seen in OTAs and minicamp that, he's got a leg and he's generally pretty consistent, especially in his last season at Florida State. So, you look back through the draft rankings of kickers, which, I think is funny to do, but he's arguably one of the best kickers, if not the best, in some of the rankings for the NFL draft of this year. So I think he's a player that has the acumen and the ability that he's shown on the field in college. So I think he's showing it in training camp, in minicamp and OTA so far this season. So I think it's his job to lose. I think he is the kicker going into week 1.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know the saying, I sits, I fits. I fits, I kicks. That's Fitzgerald, right? Like, this is the guy.
Kicksgerald.
Hey, Kicksgerald is good. I like that. Yeah, nice. Hey, good job.
Coin that.
Yeah. But so I'll
Hey, I got to get – no, I'm not taking credit for that. That was Travis Hancock, FNZ. He tweeted it out. I
that was
saw it.
T-Bone?
I'm giving him credit. Yes.
Oh,
I'm
shout
gonna
out
give him
T-Bone,
credit.
man.
Yeah, he
T-Bone's
put that out
terrific.
there. I'm like, that's a damn good nickname.
Shout out T-Bone and shout out his young lady dog Mabel. Terrific people all around. But I'll break it down this way. Do you remember when Harrison Bucker missed some kicks and they went with Zane Gonzalez?
Never forget it.
Do you remember when Harrison Mevis missed some kicks and they went Eddie Pinheiro? If Ryan Fitzgerald missing a couple of kicks gets them to go Matthew Wright, we will be in that same hell that we've been in. And I say that because look at what Harrison Bucker did when he went to an NFL team in the NFL regular season and he got some time to kick in those games to get some confidence. What is he doing? He's hitting game winners for Super Bowl champions. Harrison Mevis, hey, look, dude, he was an undrafted free agent. He was a little tubby, and he ended up going to the UFL where he was absolutely lights out. I watched him the other day. I watched him last Sunday kick a 57-yarder with 6-7 yards to spare. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Is that my fire alarm? I think
you might want to go check on that, buddy.
Yeah, go check on that.
Be right back.
But as he was saying, yeah, Mevis was lights out in that the UFL season, honestly. And I think where Ricky was going is Carolina needs to take some chances on some of these younger guys. You might have a little bit of growing pains and misses here, but you have a guy who's got the leg to take some of these deeper kicks, 55 and plus. And you didn't get that with Eddie, and I don't think you're going to get that from Matthew Wright. You're going to get the 50 and in, but you're also still going to get that occasional miss 50 and in, and then you don't have the leg beyond that. So I think for Carolina, I think you got to take a little bit of risk here. I know it's a rookie. I know that's banking on a lot. But we all know Matthew Wright. He's a guy who he's probably going to be available unless some injury occurs. You can still go back to him. You can still go back to the well with that. So I think for all of us, we also just want to see a fresh leg out there and a guy who's got some leg where you can, when you're at, a 58-yarder, you can still take a shot and you're not punting at that point. And we've already seen that with Eddie where they're punting when it's 55 and plus because they just don't have the confidence in his legs. So I think we're all kind of on the same page. I do want to go back here quickly to Pace because I'm never done with Atlanta. I hate that fan base. Penix is on ARP. I love that. I saw someone tweet the other day where he's like, they were showing Penix and he's like, yeah, he's like he's 30 years old already, which is hilarious. Christian Johnson, Falcon fans are delusional. Come on, ATL, tap in. Let's go. Delusional as hell every year, offseason champs. I agree with you. The guy lit up the Panthers secondary was I believe was without J.C. Horn in that last game. Yeah, he was out. He was not there. You had Jackson at the 1, Chau Smith-Wade. You had Bartholomew. You had Caleb Evans, some guy off the street, and he did make plays. I'm not going to deny that, and I do think. With time, the future could be bright in Atlanta, but I think people are jumping on the train way too damn early and already crowning this guy a top 10 quarterback, and I think it's way too early for that. So, there we go. I knew it was someone in here. Dylan, yeah, the third second year at 31. Yeah, that was hilarious. I love that. I appreciate that. So Ricky, I'm really hoping everything's all right because he is not back yet. So that makes me a little nervous. But let's talk about Jimmy Horn, Bryson, while we're on the minicamp conversation, because he has been out with injury.
Yeah.
And that is a guy who, shined in those early OTA videos quick. Obviously, Carolina hasn't had that line. I know a lot of the folks in the chat reminded them one of the fastest guys since Ted Ginn Jr. Maybe Tompkins comes to mind. Are you good?
Not sure yet. Figuring it out. There's nothing on fire out there. But I went out and there was a light that was blinking green. And I'm not sure if it was the CO or if the battery's dying or what. So I'm going to do a little bit of Googling while we talk. It's all good.
Okay. I just want to make sure you're all right, dude.
If I fall over, call the cops.
Yeah, make sure you put your address in the private chat just so we're good here. If someone does that, I'm serious. But we were talking about Jimmy Horn and his injury because he's dealing with a hamstring injury right now. Bryson, we'll revisit that question then. Any concern there? Hamstring for me, I feel like is a little bit more concerning than someone bumping in the T-Max leg.
Yeah.
And I know that's can be a lingering issue for wide receivers. That sounds the alarm a little bit for me because I think, especially with him and just his speed, I think you need a guy like that fully healthy to take advantage of what he does well. My thoughts on Jimmy Horn and just that injury concern. And honestly, a guy who's young, you need to learn the playbook. And that's tough when you're on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that my concern for his injury is much higher than, any of the other ones we've talked about today. It really sucks for him because, as a 7th-round pick who has some upside, that Dan Morgan had conviction on, you talked about in the Blueprint episode, in a very tight, contested wide receiver room, them re-signing David Moore. We talked about Hunter Renfro and some of these other guys. I really feel like he needs to be on the field and showing that, the abilities that he has that Dan Morgan had conviction on. I think to be injured right now is tough. Hopefully he makes it back for training camp, but that injury is concerning for sure. The hamstring, whether it be a soft tissue issue or not, but those things get re-aggravated easily. And during a time when you're trying to showcase what you can do for a team as a 7th-round pick, it's frustrating. I'm sure it's hard on him, and hopefully he bounces back quickly. But yeah, I mean, in a room that has so much competition and there's not a lot of room to slip down because you're not on the field, it's tough. And like I said, I'm hoping that he's back for training camp and ready to go in July. But those injuries are tricky, man, and hopefully it's not as serious as what we're talking about and potentially holding him out for that reason. But with that and him being out for as long as he has been already, it's definitely concerning.
The hope has to be that it is a fairly minor issue that they say, hey, we could sit him for minicamp and he'll be 100% for training camp, right? And until I know anything more about like the severity of the injury, that's the way that I'll approach it, is that this is a move out of precaution and saying that we're not going to learn that much from minicamp anyways. And we will learn much more from joint practices. We'll learn much more from training camp. But we'll learn much more from preseason.
I love this. I don't know. For folks who don't know, I think Jimmy Horn had said like
he wanted glow.
Yeah, anything he can to get glow, and then XL comes out. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny.
Is he pulling a Shamar Stewart and not playing?
Put Glorilla in my contract.
That's hilarious. Sorry, Rick. I didn't even pay attention to what the hell you said. I apologize.
Not much. Nothing good. I basically just said, like, if the injury isn't significant and we don't know if it is or not, it could just be precautionary, and they may just be saving his performance for a time where they can get a better evaluation.
I'm nervous. I want to be consistent because I was nervous when XL was out for minicamp last year. So hamstrings are tough for wide receivers, corners. So yeah, I hope it's something that, it's healed and he's ready to go training camp, because like I said with XL last year, these times are pertinent to get with Bryce, not only in build that chemistry and how he cuts and where he's cutting on the field and everything else, but also getting the playbook down. So I have confidence in him. I really like him as a player, and I think he adds a different element to this team in that wide receiver room. So I hope he is healthy going into training camp, because I think he could be a pretty big help with adding speed to that roster. I do want to touch.
The Glorilla won the gospel song of the year. Is that true? She makes gospel songs?
I did not. I was not aware. But God does want us to win if that's true.
All right. It's his will.
All right, let's talk about something everyone has been, honestly, I feel like waiting for. And it's been really the talk these last few days. And I made this nice little fancy graphic. And that's these two fellas here. So we all know the cornerback room, for the most part, is pretty damn thin. I mean, let's be real about it. And these two guys, one is a trade option, one is a free agent. Jare Alexander, guy from Charlotte. We have Jalen Ramsey, who has spoke very highly, and I like to point that out because these two fellows below me said, does Evero really have any pull with some of the guys in this league? I remember you guys telling me that. And one of the best corners in the league these last, I would say, 7 years in Jalen Ramsey, I believe he played safety too in a little bit in some of the spots he's been at. But Jalen versus Jare, where are you guys on this? Do you have a preference between these two, or is it let's get whoever the hell we can in here because I don't want to see Bartholomew or Caleb Evans suited up in a game this season? So where do you guys stand, and who would you prefer out of these two? And we can also talk about, obviously, the secondary and Blackman. I know they brought him in as well, but let's focus on these two right now.
Ricky, is it?
And by the way, these
Jare?
are last year's stats.
Okay. Ricky, is it Jare or is it Jair?
It is Jare. Yep.
Okay. All right.
His name is pronounced Jare.
I think you're right. It's Jair, I believe, now that I'm thinking about it.
Nope. It
Jair Alexander. I believe that's how my buddies say it back home, and that's coming from Packer fans. But
I'm pretty sure it's Jare.
Let's rock, paper, scissors.
All right, you ready? But either way, Bryson, which one would you like?
Yeah, I mean, between the two, obviously, Jare has some injury concerns. He's not been super available for the Packers, which is probably why they, made the decision they did to release him. Jalen is getting older, 30-year-old corner. Still has some ability to play that position, but I think, adding either of them to this room, I think either of these guys come in day one and they're the corner opposite of J.C. Horn. I think both of their abilities are higher than Mike Jackson's right now at that position. But if I had to pick one, probably Jare, just based off age and hoping that those injuries are in his past. He is a free agent, so you wouldn't have to trade anything for him as opposed to Jalen.
It's Jair Alexander. You were right, Bryson.
Are you positive? Because I saw Jare.
It's Jair Alexander, and it is. I just watched a pronunciation video. It's Jair Alexander.
Jair Alexander. So I would go Jair probably. There's obviously concerns with the injury and hoping that he can stay on the field, but he is a local kid. Loves Charlotte, and I think hoping that he's healthy and on the field. He is a good player. He is a difference maker. So I think adding him could make a difference. But either of these guys really could. So not having to give up anything in a trade really is what was leaning me towards Jair.
I guess if I was just going off of on field and not looking at anything else, I would go Jalen Ramsey because I think that he's a better player. To be completely honest, I think he's a more physical run defender. I think that he would give you an option at nickel as well. I think that Jalen Ramsey could play a good nickel. I think that he could play a little bit of safety action if you asked him to. And also the availability, man, it scares me with Jair Alexander. Like, I don't feel good about giving any money to a guy that has played sub 50% of games for the past 2 seasons in a row. And when he plays, he's really good. Like you hear like the Packers coaches talk about they played a different brand of defense. They drew up different plays. Schematically, they were able to do different things when Jair was on the field. But when he's not, which is more often than not, they are in a world of hurt. And I think that when you're talking about coupling that with J.C. Horn, who, look, man, I'm ecstatic that J.C. Horn showed the durability that he did last season. Ecstatic about that. That's also a tiny bit of a one-off in the grand scheme of his career in the NFL right now. So I don't feel super strongly about having a guy who has struggled to stay healthy paired with a guy who has just not been healthy as of recently. Mm-hmm. If Jalen Ramsey is on your team, that gives you a guy that can fill in as not only cornerback 1, but if he's healthy and Mike Jackson is healthy and schematically you want to throw Jalen into the nickel, that gives you some looks, man. Like, I like Jalen Ramsey a lot, and I'm not worried about his contract. I think that the guarantees and all that kind of change that. I think that Miami has said that they're willing to take on a chunk of that. I would go that route if I was going to go it, but he does also not fit the criteria, being 30 plus years old.
By the way, Pacers just won, so they're up 2-1 in the series. If you're listening, now get your asses over here and start listening to us. But,
come win a shirt.
I mean, I'm the same way with Ricky. I think the availability is a big concern for me with Jair. 7 games in the last 2 years, I think it is. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this graphic. It hasn't been a lot, let's be honest. And it might be around that. I know because I think didn't he have a major injury the year prior? But anyway, the availability is a major issue. But I would take either of these guys over what they have depth-wise in Carolina. So if they couldn't go out and they're not willing to, spend the capital on a trade to get Jalen Ramsey, I would still be fine bringing Alexander in because I just don't want to see the back end of those corners ever play for Carolina, to be brutally honest with you. But yeah, the availability is a major concern. I think Jalen obviously has comfortability with Evero in his system. That's a huge plus, and he's a hell of a player, and he's available. But I don't think when healthy you cannot slight Alexander. When he's healthy, he's a hell of a player. I mean, he played less than half the games Jalen did. He still had 2 picks. I mean, that stands for something. So,
can I ask both of you, what is your probability that either of these guys ends up on the Carolina Panthers? And I'll give you mine first. I'm going to go 15%.
I think it's pretty damn close. I would say like 25.
I was thinking 10.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like a move they're going to make, right?
No.
Like it doesn't line up with much. Jair, I think, is just going to cost too much for the risk. Jalen trading away the assets.
And we really didn't talk about the locker room aspect either. I mean, does this ruffle the feathers of what Canales is trying to build here in the locker room?
I think that Jalen Ramsey's personality isn't one that meshes poorly. I think that Jalen Ramsey is just
he loves Evero. So
yeah.
You're doing that.
Well, but even at the spots that he's been at, though, I don't think he's been the problem. I think that the problem has been that he's been in not great situations. And this whole mutual moving off of each other in Miami, I don't think that if he was some sort of a huge issue, I don't think that's the way that this would be mentioned. I think that it would be worded differently. Like the way that teams talk about players that are issues, you can see there's a difference in that. And I'm just not sure I get that vibe here. I think this is we want to move off of him because we want to do something different. They want Cam Smith to be something. And I don't know why they want to do that, but they want Cam Smith to be something.
Well, and I think it's telling too for Green Bay. And I don't know if you've seen the videos. I still follow some of the beat reporters for Green Bay. And I mean, you see Bo Melton working out as a corner for the Packers right now, who's a wide receiver.
They might try Matthew Golden at free safety.
And I know I get the contract was massive and they saved a lot by cutting him, but I think there's obviously a little bit more there than what we think as well. Of if you're willing to go out and cut a guy and you're that thin at corner to go and try to transition a wide receiver to that spot, maybe there was more under than we know. And we all know, I mean, Alexander's the same guy who came out for the coin toss in Carolina, and then he got suspended because he wasn't supposed to be out there. And he just no, this is my hometown, Charlotte. I'm going to go out there without coach's orders. So that's where I feel I don't think that jives real well with what Canales is trying to build. I'm very stubborn. I could care less about that. I just want good players. Let's get good. I literally do not want to see Bartholomew or Evans on the field at all this season. So I'd take any of these guys, to be brutally honest with you. But I don't know if
Bartholomew's had 2 interceptions, Curtis. That doesn't move you?
On
the minicamp interceptions doesn't move you?
And TMJ had 100 touchdowns last year too.
But hey, didn't you see ESPN?
Hey, and Jonathan Mingo looked good too.
ESPN Cleveland is tracking the quarterback statistics, man. Shamar Bartholomew would be a top 5 pick right now if it was a training camp stats competition.
I know, and Shedeur Sanders threw 20 touchdowns already. So here we go.
He is going to
But
win that
it-
quarterback competition.
Yeah, Shador is the better quarterback on that roster, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
So out of these two, it looks like Jalen, Ricky, and I, Bryson doesn't think we'd probably spend the capital on Jalen, so probably Alexander more than likely. But we all, for the most part, I think I'm a little bit higher that maybe they do dabble with one of these trades. What about Julian Blackmon? Where do you guys stand on that? Are you comfortable? I know I'm more comfortable than you guys are. We're probably going into the season with Damani Richardson, but where are you with that safety room? And do you think that's somewhere they add this offseason?
I think it's interesting that you keep saying they're going into it with Damani Richardson and you keep neglecting Lathan Ransom.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure which one it is, but I think that's a very competitive situation. Cody Alexander, shout out Cody Alexander. He is the owner and founder of Match Quarters, and also runs a podcast called Let's Talk Ball with Felix Johnson. Terrific guys. They also work with the Pro Vision Sports tool that I have been using and went on their podcast. He had mentioned something to me when I commented about Julian Blackmon. And he said that injury for Julian Blackmon must be more serious than the public has been let on for. And he's talking about a rotator cuff injury that Julian Blackmon has been dealing with. And if that's the case, that like these teams just aren't getting great medical information, that would make a lot of sense why Carolina is a little bit hesitant, in my opinion, because one thing they are not doing is bringing in more guys that aren't going to see the field, man. Like DJ Wanham is one of those guys that like he's been practicing and stuff, but this fan base got really nervous when they said that DJ wasn't practicing because of his back injury, right? Or he had a back thing that flared
Well,
up.
yeah, they cut Clowney.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go down that route, but
it makes everyone nervous because DJ and a lot of the stuff that he missed last year was secondary infections, secondary health issues, and they were serious. So I'm not trying to like minimize that or make it seem like he just didn't want to play or was like not toughing it out. No, those are life-threatening situations. But it was still the situation where we signed him as one of our premier additions, right? He was one of our big money additions and an overhaul of that edge position. And he was unavailable for a bulk of the season. When we hear about his back flaring up, I think everyone got a little bit nervous. And they were like, man, if he misses more time in a 2-year contract and he misses more time in his second season, that was a bad signing. Like one way or another, there's no way you can look at that. It would be a bad signing. If he misses 7 or 8 games again, it's not good because the production wasn't monumental last year either. That Giants game was terrific. I watched that Giants game again in full recently, so it's fresh on my mind. He was outstanding in that Giants game, which was, I think, his return. The next games after that, he was fine. I don't think that he was tremendous. I think he was fine. And I think
who does the New York Scott at on their offensive line?
Not outstanding, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, they also played the Saints, and the Saints didn't have a whole lot after that. Like, all I'm saying is that I think that he's a good complementary rotational player. I don't think that he's who you're hanging your hat on to be your franchise edge rusher. But the whole part about not being available is, I think, what makes Julian Blackmon a little bit nerve-wracking if that injury is worse than what is being led on. And so I could understand them saying, we'll risk it, and we'll find out what we have developmentally with Lathan Ransom, Damani Richardson, and then Nick Scott will be the gunner that everybody, wants Hunter Renfro to be.
I don't buy that. I know you mentioned a guy. I honestly think Carolina is using the minicamp as a measuring stick, and they're going to say, okay, they're going to sit down after minicamp and say, who do we need to add here?
Very possible.
And Dave Canales even said today, I don't know if Sheena had asked it, maybe Sheena Quick, one of the best beat reporters we have, and had asked him about what do you think about adding to the secondary, and maybe she didn't ask this, but she still deserves a shout out. She's great. And Dave Canales said, yeah, we're open, but you could tell he didn't want to go down that route, but he definitely said they were open to adding. And obviously it wasn't specific to a corner or a safety. I think they had someone mentioned Jalen Ramsey. It might have even been Vashti. I can't even remember. It was either one of them, I think. And Dave said they're open to it. And I don't think you say that if you're not that way. So I do think that's something they do here, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I know fans are itching for that because I do think those are the depth there is lacking. There's no doubt about that. As much as we want to say Smith-Wade's had a great, OTAs and minicamp and whatever else, that's a good point. James Cody brings up.
They did, and one of them, I think that we all had this conversation about like which undrafted free agent do you think has a chance to make the team, and I was trying to figure out something off the beaten path instead of saying Jacoby George or Kobe Hudson because that's what everyone wanted to say, or Luke Kandra, right, the interior offensive lineman. And my pick was Isaac Gifford out of Nebraska, special teams ace. And I also think that he has that toughness and that mentality. It's possible that they look at him. They also had Jack Henderson out of Minnesota, and I believe Trevion Thomas out of Arkansas State. So they did bring in 3 guys, but they bring in a lot of guys in undrafted free agency situations, and almost 95% of them don't make the team. So,
yeah, that's a tough one to read. Well, if you guys, I should have kept that up. I think we're at a pretty good spot. I think it's time for maybe the giveaway.
Sure. Let me share my screen. Let me bring up the wheel of names.
So and before you get into that, if you do win and you're still on here in the live stream, please, if you're on YouTube, comment your Twitter handle so I can reach out to you personally and figure out. And I think it was James Cody last time who won, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, to make a Twitter, I think.
Yeah. So please, if you are on YouTube and you are listening and you do win, please put in the comments, and you're on here still, what your Twitter handle is, because that's the way I can reach out to you. YouTube does not allow you to message folks that are subscribers, which is unfortunate. So if you are, and take James Cody's word, he did win, and we did send him. Was it a hat or a shirt? I can't even remember. So we just wanted to get that. I wanted to get that sorted out because I know we kind of ran in that last time, and James Cody somehow found out, and it all worked out. So, you're sharing your screen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there it goes. Okay. All right. Everyone can see it. There's the names listed up in there. You guys ready for me to spin it?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. I love that it has the sound effect. It always makes it so much more fun. Oh. Nate Bazin.
Wow.
Congratulations, Nate.
If you are in here still, please, please, please. And if anyone who knows him knows his Twitter handle, please post it in the comments.
If anyone knows Nate.
There he is.
There he is.
Nate, please post your Twitter handle if you're on Twitter, or somehow give us some sort of information. Oh, he's pumped. I love that this is live. Yeah, that's cool. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Man.
And shout out to For Panthers fans only, because this shirt, it's fire. It was the talk of the back half of the season last year. And Bryce Young ending coaches' careers, ending teams' playoff hopes. Whatever it was really the highlight for us this past season. So we appreciate you guys for making these shirts because they're kick-ass. And I hope you sell every single one you ordered because they're awesome. And like Bryson said, they're a great brand. I agree with you. I forgot what the company is that makes them, but any shirt that is made by this company is great. It doesn't shrink. It's comfortable. I'm not just saying that. This is a good quality shirt. So hats off to Nate. Nate, I still don't know if we have your Twitter handle. The dude might have just crashed out and left. He's like, I won, I'm done. But please, if you do have a Twitter handle, either DM us on Twitter or put it in here and I will reach out to you and we'll get that sorted out. Appreciate you, Dylan. That was me and Bryson spitballing, and we somehow made it happen. I don't know how the hell we got it to the end. I appreciate it. Look at this at the end. First live that I've caught in a very long time. Apologies for already been talked about, but what do you all think about Jair Alexander being available? Panthers fan from New Hampshire. Shout out New Hampshire. We'll talk about it quick since you send a super chat. I will fuck it. I mean, I know we're at the end. I'll open up another beer, even though I was done.
Look at Curtis, man. What a great mentality. Oh, that's Carolina Nate. Oh, Nate Bazin is Carolina Nate, dude. That's one of the most supportive accounts on Twitter that has followed all of us, that follows all Panthers content creators. And I mean, honestly, man, he'll retweet like anything that you post that is of any kind of value. He always brings perspectives and insights. So shout out to Nate, man. That is awesome that you won, dude. I am super duper stoked that you won that shirt tonight.
Same. And I will message you, Nate. So look for that. I'll DM you from Panthers on Tap, and we'll get that sorted out and get that shipped out right away. AWS Drummer 25. We appreciate you right at the end. Sipping a nice. Hey, he knows. He gets it. We appreciate you, and we're going to talk about this one more time because I don't know if you were in here when we did. So we'll talk about Xavier Alexander if Ricky doesn't want to pronounce it that way. That's okay. But Alexander, I will say this about both of these guys, Jalen and him. They're dogs when they're on the field. Carolina always needs more dogs. We know Dan Morgan's pitch when he first started as GM. When available, both of these guys are dogs. When they're on the field, the defense is better. That's across the board, both of them. I think we all can agree if they could get this guy cheap, I don't think any of us would have qualms about this. He's getting a shit ton of money from the Green Bay Packers for them cutting him. He is getting paid. I think it's like 17 mil. I'm not a big cap guru guy. Ricky might know more than me, but I believe it's like 17 mil this year. So he is getting a pretty substantial amount of money already from Green Bay. So maybe he does take the hometown discount, and I'd be all for it. I mean, like I said, I do not want to see those other two on the back end in that corner room playing. And if we can avoid maybe Smith-Wade, maybe I'm not getting enough hate from Bryson about Smith-Wade because I feel like I've been shitting on them this whole episode too.
No, Ricky mentioned earlier, he was like, yeah, maybe he talking about Jalen Ramsey, he could come and play nickel. And I was like, dude, in my mind, I'm like, man, he's trying to get Smith-Wade off the field.
Oh yeah.
See, I'm the Chau Smith or Chau Smith.
We all know he's a closet.
I'm the knucklehead.
We all know he's a closet Buccaneers fan for his buddy Parrish there in Tampa Bay. So
you watch your tongue. Watch your tongue, Bella. But no, look, the Jair Alexander thing, like you talked about the money he's getting, that was a disagreement with him and the Packers. And that's what gives me a little bit of pause with the Panthers because they said they were miles away on where they could agree on something and that he felt he could make more money in the open market. That tells me that he is going to be monetarily motivated, as he should be. He's 28 years old, dude. Go get your money. Like, you're not going to get another contract that's as big as this one, right? Like, if you're already having durability issues, go get as much money as you can. I have a hard time seeing the Panthers being the one that doles out that contract.
Yeah, and when I mentioned him earlier, I was we did the Jalen Ramsey versus Jair Alexander kind of debate, and I was on the Jair Alexander train just because of it's someone that you're not going to have to trade capital for. He is younger than Jalen Ramsey. He does have injury concerns, and there is a question mark of how much money it's going to cost to bring him in, which the guys have talked about already. But I think if he's healthy and on the field and he takes a hometown discount, this is a guy that immediately starts as your cornerback too, and provides depth at the very least for this team. So I would not hate them bringing him in at all.
And I will say this to Bryson's point. How many times have we seen Panthers players who have been injury prone here go off and play 2-3 years, not a scratch on them? So that could be the turn here in, Alexander, where he's been injured many, many years in Green Bay, and he comes here and, he's healthy for a couple of years. I mean, that can turn too. Yeah. So I know we always want to think negatively about that, but that he could turn the tide here and be fully healthy in the next couple of years, and he's a whole different player. So
shout out that super chat though at the end of the night, dude. That's awesome. Appreciate you, bro. Great.
We appreciate you guys. We will be back next week. Ricky, we will have another giveaway for y'all. Again, we have 629 people listening at 11:30 at night. If you do not subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. It takes a little bit. Even if you don't have an account, go create a Google account. Please subscribe to our channel. We are very close to 1,000 subscribers. We'd love to hit that. And that thing is beautiful. Joe Bello, he literally is pretty much my entire man cave in the basement. My entire wall is covered with his stuff. He does great
Y'all
work.
don't want
That,
this?
by the way, is painted by him.
Yeah.
Hand painted. It is custom made.
Yeah.
And then he obviously makes multiple prints of the original. But the guy does incredible work. I've tried to get some of his originals. He's outstanding, and he does work for the Panther players. I think he's painted stuff for Cam, Greg Olson. He's done stuff.
Maybe did stuff for Shaq Thompson. Yeah.
Yes. So he's incredible. Love him. And I always tell him, I'm like, man, I'm running out of room in the man cave to put your stuff. It's hard. So
you'll make me build a whole other damn room in my house for your $30 art prints, man.
And by the way, to find that, I don't think we mentioned this, Etsy. His Etsy account.
That's his Etsy now. Now, again, I said at the beginning, though, that it is sold out right now. The print is sold out. I spoke to him, and he does have plans on restocking, but it will be at least a week before the restock. And you're going to have your chance of winning this thing next week. And I will have it in hand here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I will ship it out the next day, man. So win this thing. Win it. It is awesome. It'll be the 11x17 version of it. And you get a really cool frame, man. Get yourself a nice vintage frame. It looks so cool, man. And like one of those old school vintage frames, like treat it like it's like one of those like old family photos or something like that, and dress it up with a nice real ornamental thing, man, and give it this really cool vibe. And it deserves it. It's a piece of work, a piece of art,
and
man.
hang it in your living room.
Yeah, Joe Bello's the man, dude. Shout out Joe.
Your wife will love you. Hang it in your living room. Trust me.
And if she doesn't, then you figured out that you needed to cut ties anyways.
Yeah. Time to move on.
Well, hey, we appreciate everyone tuning in. I know we were fighting the finals, but hey, we stuck around. You guys stuck around. We appreciate every single one of you. We are finally back. We'll be back next week. But until then, keep pounding.